Hey there, my gorgeous friends on the internet. Oh boy, I got something exciting cooking for you guys today. So we're doing a big project. Yay, it's been ages since we've done something like this. So we're gonna be building out an AI editor using Next.js and Cloudinary's new AI features, and then do something really cool. Let me just show you. So welcome to our application. Here's our AI editor. As you can see, we have a layers tab on the right. We have the ability to upload images or videos. So let me just show you a quick example with an image for now. So I'm gonna go here, drag an image in. As you can see, that changes to drop an image. And there we go, it's uploading, and there we go, it's uploaded right there. So now, as you can see, I have a toolbar here with all the different effects that I can use. I can even go between dark mode and light mode, like that. What we can do here is, let's try out one of the generative fill features. So as you can see, when I click here, it's gonna open up a tab with our current image. So let's say I kind of want to make this a bit more vertical. So I can just expand this up, and as you can see, it's gonna give us a nice little preview of how much that image is gonna expand as well. So I'm gonna hit generative fill, and that's editing the pixel sky image. And let's just wait a second for this to complete. And there we go. In a couple of seconds, as you can see, it generated that image for us. So we can do a quick before and after by looking at it like that. Let's drag this image in. As you can see, we already get a preview of the image getting uploaded there. And there we go. As you can see, we have quite a couple of tools here. There's one that I can do just by clicking and doing a background removal if I want to. So if we click on this, remove the background for us. Now the fantastic thing is that it also automatically made it into a PNG file for us, so we can just go and download that. Another cool feature that we have here is the comparison mode. So if I want to just compare two images quickly and see what changed, I can hit the compare button here, and as you can see, that's comparing the image here, the first image, to nothing here. But if we select another image, it's going to compare it to that. So there you go, you can see how that cutout happened here. And of course, like, you can compare different images, so like depending what kind of effects you apply, you can look at that. Another cool feature is that anything that you do in this editor, you can just do an export and also modify the quality to it. So for example, let's say I want to replace the background with something else. So I'm going to go here to AI BG replace, and I'm going to say sunset and hit edit. And as you can see, a couple of seconds later, boom, there we go, it replaced the image for us. So we can experiment, try out different ones, and we can even go to comparison mode here to see the changes that happen. But once we do some changes to it, we can just go to export mode here. And as you can see, we have a couple of options. So we can just get the original quality that we had. And if we hit download, boom, look at that. It's all downloaded. Or we can even compress it, so I can select the lower quality version of this. So if I do small here and hit download, you're gonna see that this is only 69 kilobytes now compared to the 124 that was the higher quality. And you can see some compression going on there now. So that's cool. So you have this option to do it for images and for videos as well. Let me show you another cool feature that we can do. I can upload an image of Mario here, and let's say I want to extract Mario. So I can go to AI extract here, and I can add a prompt. So I want to get Mario, and I want to just cut him out. I can also create a mask out of him, which I'm going to show you. So there we go. In a second or two, boom, look at that. Mario has been completely extracted from the background. But the cool bit is I can go here and just click mask as well. I can also get mask exported, you know, then you can bring in Photoshop or whatever to apply some effects to it. So that's super cool. Now, as you can see, I also uploaded a video, and that's simply, you can just make a new layer, go to video and drag it in. And there we go. We got a video MP4 here. Let's listen to it. Hey, Mr. AI, can you make a subtitle out of my voice, please? Okay, so we have that, right? So I can go to transcribe here, and once I click it, and as you can see, a couple of seconds later, it says transcription completed. And have a look now when we play the video. Hey, Mr. AI, it automatically has the subtitles in the video now. And then we can also go here and just export that video, and boom, we are done. How cool is that? Now, one more thing we can do is, let me go here and upload another video. There we go. We got this video with quite a bit of movement. As you can see, it's like a 16:9 ratio. We can quickly recrop videos into like any format that you want. So I did 3 here, the most popular ones, which is YouTube format, and then we have TikTok format and Square. And we can just smart crop this, and it's automatic. Look at that, boom. It's automatically gonna crop it to that resolution, and it's also gonna try to keep the gravity on the subject, which is super cool. So I can go here, export this. I can even compress this down to like a small quality if I want to, and boom, there we go. So hope you're excited. That's some of the features. There's a couple more here that we added, but yeah, hop along and let's get going. Alrighty, let's get started with this project. So we're gonna open up VS Code, and I'm gonna run the command npx create next app at latest. Now, if you want to do this in vanilla react.js as well, feel free to follow along. It doesn't really matter. We're mostly gonna be doing stuff in client components anyway. So I'm just gonna keep all the defaults here for the Next.js application. Okay, so now that we got our project up and running, let's head over here and create a new file called .env.local. And this will hold just like our credentials for the Cloudinary stuff for the AI. So let's just copy over a couple of environment variables that you'll need to add. So one is gonna be the Cloudinary name, the Cloudinary secret, the key, and then the URL, which I don't even think we necessarily need the URL, but let's add it here. Okay, so let's head over to Cloudinary. To find your API key is as simple as going to Cloudinary. I'm gonna just log in with my Google here, just like that. Let's click here, click continue on that one. And then we just need to head into our settings here at the bottom. There we go. And then if you head over here to API keys, there you go. You can get the Cloudinary URL, which is going to be this one right here, your API key, your API secret as well. And if you want the name, it's here, this end one here. So in my case, it's going to be restyled. Okay, so this is how you can get all four. Pop them in your environment local variables, and we are good to go. Now there's one more thing I want to add before we get started. That's Shadn, and we're going to use this for styling up our application. So let's head over here to the docs. Where is it? Installation. There we go. We'll select Next.js in our case, and we're going to run this command Shadn init. So let's head back here, open this up, and run that sucker. Okay, for the base color, we're going to select slate. Yes, for the CSS variables, and we are good to go. So we're going to start like adding a bunch of components as we go here. Another thing I want to install is our state management tool. So we're going to get into this early. So I'm just going to do it now. We're going to say npm I Zustand. And there's two more things I want to install before we jump into creating the UI, because we essentially want to implement dragging and dropping images or videos into our project. So I'm going to install React drop zone. So we're going to say npm install React drop zone. This is for just like drag and dropping images and then uploading them. And then the other one is going to be React hook form. And there we go. We'll use this in tangent with Zod to basically do validation on our images and videos. So we can like only accept JPEGs or, PNGs or whatnot. Okay, so that's great. That's good to go. Let's head, we need Zod as well. npm I Zod. Let's add that as well. Okay, cool. Ready to go. So let's run npm run dev and have a look at our beautiful empty project. So for now, let's just head over to our main application here in our home page. Let me zoom out a tad bit. Is that too zoomed out? I'll keep it like this. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is just essentially clear out everything. Okay, so everything here all the way to the main tag, and then you can get rid of all these class names as well, like that. And let's just say photo AI, like that. I hit save. And one more thing I want to do, we're going to keep everything client side here because we don't need any SEO or anything like that. And there's going to be a lot of moving parts to this using our state management tool. So I'm going to add the editor here. If you want to like keep this a server component and build up more on the website, feel free to do so. But in our case, we're only going to have the editor for now. So let's do an editor here. Now we don't have this component, but we'll create it right now. So we'll head over here. As you can see, we already have a component set up here. Let's make a new file and let's call this editor.tsx. Okay, in our editor, we're going to go to the top, mark this as a use client again, and let's return a function called editor just so we can render this out in our page. Okay, so editor here, save. So if we go back here, we should be able to import this like that and hit save. And if we have a look, there we go, we got editor at the top there. Now that we have our editor set up, let's head over and create our upload image form. So in our components here, we're going to make a new folder. Let's call this upload because we're going to have two here. We're going to have upload video and upload photo, and they're both going to look a tad bit different. So we'll just keep these separate. So let's call this upload image.tsx. And let's head over here and return just the div for now that says upload image. Okay, so what I want to do here is essentially import that drop zone that we installed. So the way we can do this is just a hook. So you can say use drop zone like that. And then here you can add max files. So I can define, hey, I only want to drag and drop one image in here. And then what type of file you want to accept. So you can pass that down as an object. So you can say image PNG, and you can say, hey, that should be everything with the .png ending to it. So let's add a comma, and then we can pretty much do this a couple more times. So we can do stuff for JPEG if we want to accept WebP, and then let's also do JPEG, right? These are probably the most common ones. So let's go with these ones. So there we go. So let's just go here and change these. So JPEG, this is going to be WebP, and this is going to be JPEG with an E. Cool. What we can do still in this object here, we can also run a method. So if we do an onDrop, there we go. This is going to take in an async function, which is great because then here we'll have access to the accepted files, and if any like files got rejected as well. So let's open that up. And then here, oh, sorry, I need to run an arrow function here like that. There we go. Okay, so in here, what we can do now is say if the accepted files, the length. So basically, if there is an accepted file, right, if there's one, then it will trigger this if statement here. If there's zero, then it'll just skip right through it. But if we do have an image getting uploaded, then we can get the form data here. So we can say new form data like that. And then on the form data dot append, we'll append it as an image, and we'll just pass down the accepted files and the 0 here, because even though this is like an array, we're like specifically saying, hey, you can only pass down one file. So we know that accepted files is only going to be an array with one item inside. Okay, cool. So now what we can do is take that and create an object URL. The reason why I'm doing this is because we can instantly show it on the screen for the user as it's like loading up. So even though we're uploading it to Cloudinary, we can still create an object URL and just display it straight up to the users. So let's create an object URL, and we'll pass down the accepted files and say 0 there. Cool. Because we only have one image, remember? Cool. Okay, and that's pretty much all we need now. Here we need to do some state management stuff. Let's just add this here, state management stuff, to like create layers, set the active layer, set the image as the active layer and whatnot, right? We need to do a bunch of stuff here to configure. And next up, what we need to do is actually upload the image to Cloudinary. So I'm gonna have a response here, and it's gonna be an await upload image, and then here we'll need to pass something out. But we don't have this, so let's just pause it right there. And what we'll do is let's head over down here, just in our root directory, make a new folder. We'll call it server. All right, I like to add server here, add my DB here usually, and if I have any server actions, I'll just do it in here. So in this case, we're only gonna have server actions here. So I'm just gonna make a couple of files here. Okay, so this one's gonna be called upload image.ts. Okay, so here we can head to the top and add the use server at the top. And now what we can do is say import. We actually need to install Cloudinary. So let's do npm I Cloudinary. Okay, now that that's added, we can run this back up. So we can import from Cloudinary. And let's import the upload API response. This will give us all the types for it, which is fantastic. And I'll also import v2. This is the new version of their API. But I can import it as Cloudinary like that. Okay, cool. So we got that. We'll also need Zod for some validation. There we go, and that's it. So let's configure our Cloudinary. So this is going to be super simple. You just pass in an object here with the Cloudinary name. So we save these, process env.cloudinary name. There we go. And then we have our API key as well, process.env.cloudinary key. And finally, we have our API secret. This is the last one you need to pass. And this should be under our Cloudinary secrets. There we go. Cool. All set up. Now remember, our image from here is going to come down as a form data. So as you can see, we created the form data, passed the image in there, and then we're sending it through. We cannot send this through if it's not a form data. It would just not work. So that's why we added it in a form data first and passed that through. So what we can do with Zod is actually create that type for it. If you just say form data, you can do a Z object here and say, hey, the image is essentially going to be an instance of a form data. There we go. So as you can see, if you hover over it now, it's nicely typed. Perfect. Okay. Last thing we need to do is also add a type for the upload result. Do we even need this? We might not need this. Okay, never mind. Okay, let's create our export const upload image function. All right, so we're exporting it. We're sending it equal to. There's actually another package that I want to install that just makes working with server actions super duper easy. So if you head over to Next Safe Actions, I love this package. Just makes working with them so intuitive. You have type safety, end-to-end type safety. You have hooks as well that you can use, optimistic updates, and all that good jazz. So I really recommend you check this out. Like, they recommend you installing it with Zod as well, but we're gonna skip that and just do Safe Actions. So let's head over here. Close that up, npm I next safe action. Lovely. So here's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna go here one more time and create a new file in the root directory. Let's just call this lib. Do we already have? We already have a lib. There we go, with the utils here, because Shadn sets up this class name merging tool for us automatically. So let's just go in the lib then, make a new file. Let's call this, what should we call this? So let's go here and call this safe action.ts. Okay, all we need to do here is import create safe action client and then just export it. So let's call this action client, and you'll see the benefits in just a sec. So create safe action client. Okay, so we made this, we're exporting it, so we can import it back here. Okay. So now what we can do is call action client here, just set this equal to the action client, and then we can pass a schema in here. So the way I like to do this is just bring it down to a new line like that, and then I can pass in the schema so it can validate it. So in this case, I'm passing in the form data, and then the action that I want to take. So this action is going to be an asynchronous because we're going to upload the image, and here you're going to have, if you open up a curly brackets like that, now what we can do here is just run an action like that with an async function. Here I can just pass in the parsed input so I can extract the image. There we go, that's the image that's coming through from here, this component. There we go, and once we have the image, well, we can do whatever we want with it. So now that we have the image accessible here, let's get it. We can say form image is equal to image.get, and I'm gonna get that image. Perfect, so if I'll say if there's no form image, then I'm going to return an error instead and say no image was provided. There we go. If there's no image like that, I can catch that again and say no image provided. Okay, so if nothing was passed down here, so I'm checking, first I'm checking this one. So I'm checking both. I'm checking what was passed down and also this, but this should stop it anyway. Okay, cool. So now what we can do is get that file, which is equal to a form image, and we can call it as file because it's a individual one here. Then this is pretty much ready to be uploaded. So we can do a try catch block. There we go. And here what we'll do is say const array buffers we're going to say await file.array buffer like that. Okay, so we're going to do an upload stream with Cloudinary. So we'll need the buffer for this. So you can do buffer from array buffer and then start uploading it by chunks. So we're going to return. So after this finishes our try catch here, we're going to return a new promise, and we can pass down a generic here as well. We can just get that upload API response that we imported. Upload API response. There we go. And let's open this up. We'll have a resolve and a reject. Let's pop this open. So here we have our upload stream, and the way you upload it is with Cloudinary. You go to uploader. You can do upload, just normal upload. You can do chunked upload, stream upload. There's so many options here, but we're gonna do upload stream for this one. Okay, and now we need to pass down a couple of options. The upload preset, this is gonna be your Cloudinary name. So process.env.cloudinary name. And I think that's pretty much all we need. We just need to pass down that because we already configured it up here. Okay, cool. So that's that. And then after this, we want to check any error messages as well. So right here, add a comma. Where do we need the comma? Oh yeah, here. After the upload stream object, because here we also have access to the error and the result. So let's pop that open. So I'll say if there's an error or there's no result. There we go. Then what I want to do is do a return. Let's just return this. Return an error that says something went wrong. And then we can go down here and say else. We can say, sorry, we need to either reject or resolve the promise here because we're returning a promise. I'm so silly. Okay, so rather than that, we'll reject the promise here and throw the error and say upload failed. Okay, and then here we'll resolve it because it succeeded, right? So we'll say success. And I'm gonna just get back the result. Now the problem here is this is going to give us a little type error here, but that's okay. What we can do is just head back here to the top, and I'll just add this type instead. So I'm going to take in the success, right, the upload API response, but I'll also add error here. So if there's a success, then error will be never. But if the error has an object, then success will be never. Okay, so let's take this instead of the upload API response and pass that down. And there we go. Now we don't have any problems anymore. So after this all finishes here, what we need to do is just say upload stream end. All right, that's like closing it up. And then here we just pass in the buffer. Cool. So that's that. And then here with the catch, we can just pass down the error and return that instead. So we can say return error, error. Like that, save. Okay, so that's looking all good, ready to be tested out. So we can head back here to our initial component, our upload image, and we can give that a shot. So let's head here, say upload image. There we go, we're gonna import that. And we can pass down the image here as the form data. Cool. So now that that's ready, everything else here pretty much will be handled like client side and then with state management. So that should still go through, that should still be fine. Our next step is to go here now and return a nice card here for us that we can just drag and drop an image in. So what we're going to do is install the card component from Shadn. So I'll just quickly head to our browser. I know we haven't really done much in the UI, but we'll get there in a sec. So let's head here, Shadn. Let's search up the card component. Let's see, and there we go. So let's install this. Paste that in. Cool. Now that that's installed, let's head over here, and instead of returning a div here, let's just return a card from UI components here. Cool. Now, here's the cool thing with use drop zone here. we can just pass the props. We can import this get root props and just pass it down here to the card. So I can go here to the card and spread that like that. Get root props like that. Perfect. Okay, so now that should give us all the functionality necessary. In here, let's also expand this out. We'll do a card content. There we go. And there's one more thing we need to get from here, and that's going to be the get input props. So let's spread that on the card content. Get input props. There we go. We are good to go. Okay, and then in here, in the card, all I'm going to have is an input tag. And actually, I should add this on the input. Sorry, not on the card content. There we go. So input, we'll get the input props on the input. Hit save. And then let's also add another div here. Kind of want to do like a cool animation here, like an uploading animation. That'd be yeah, I just like that. And yeah, that's it. Let's also add a p tag here. I want to basically do a text here. Basically, if we're dragging an image or if we're not dragging an image, like what kind of text we're going to display. You're going to see it in just a sec. So what we can do is go here to the top and import is drag active like that. Okay. And then with this, here, check this out. So in your p tag, just say is drag active, no question mark. Whoops. Make sure it's inside there. Say something like drop your image here. Otherwise, say start by uploading an image. Okay, and then at the bottom here, supported formats. I think we did, what did we do? We did the JPEG, PNG, WebP, and JPEG without an E. There we go. Cool. So let's save that. All right, that should be pretty much ready to be tested out. So let's run this back up. We'll style this up just a tad bit so it doesn't look horrible. And then we'll test it out. So there we go. We don't have the, as you can see, we don't have the upload image in the editor yet. So let's just go to the editor for now and say upload image. There we go. Cool animation. Start by uploading an image, supported formats, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'll just try to drag an image in and see if it works, okay? So we're gonna try this dog. Check this dog out. Really cool stuff. We're gonna try to import him. So we're dragging and nothing's happening. So what's the deal? Okay, I see the problem. One is we need to invoke these. So you need to actually invoke the function there. So for get root props and also for input here, we'll need to call those like that and hit save. So let's give that another shot. Does that fix it? Go on, dog. As you can see, look, when I'm dragging and dropping, see, drop your image there. So it's working. That's how we know it's working. Is drag active is actually activating. So if I drop it there, now we don't have any information here, but we can check Cloudinary if that actually got uploaded. But look, we got a post request. We can actually just console log this out and check. Console log res. Okay, let's go on, dog. Post. Give me a response. Oh, that's gonna be on the front end. I'm silly. Very common and very easy to make this mistake. You're like, okay, well, let's see the post. Where's my console log? Well, here we're gonna get the console log in the browser. See? But if it were here, we would have gotten it in the terminal. Okay, so if you're on the server action, you have use server here at the top, so this is gonna run in your terminal. But look at that, we have an object with the data and the success and all this cool information in Cloudinary. So we have like access mode, we have our API key, SS key, blah, blah, blah. We have tags that we can add to, which I'm gonna show you in just a sec. But we get the height and all that. So let's head over to our upload image. There's just a few little things that we can do to improve this. So I'm going to copy over some class names here just so it doesn't take forever to type out. You can get this on the GitHub or just pause the video for a second. I'm going to do this for all the class names because there's quite a bit to type out and I don't want to waste your time because video tutorials already take ages to film. So it is what it is. Okay, so here's the first one. It's a class name merger here because I'm doing a hover, cursor pointer, background of secondary, just transitioning everything and adding an animate pulse if the drag is active. So let me show you. So basically when the drag is active, it's going to start pulsing. There we go. And then you got a nice border as well, so you can see kind of what's going on. Okay, cool. So that's like one like really quick improvement on the card content here. We're also going to go add a flex with a height of full, item center, just a bit of padding to it as well. So let's have a look. And there we go. All right, so nicely padded. Let's grab this first paragraph here with the drag active. I'm going to make a really big text out of this like that. And then for the supported formats down here, I'm going to make this really small and do a text muted. So if we have a look now, there you go, supported formats. I don't need this cool animation anymore. That can go. And looking good, perfect. I also kind of want to center these because right now it's, as you can see, that paragraph is not centered there. I want to do a bit of spacing as well. So let's go on this div, add a flex with a flex call and a gap of 4, just to space out a bit. Maybe that's a bit too much. Maybe something like 2 looks quite good. There we go, cool. Okay, to move on now, I think we're pretty much ready to set up our client state management because we're a lot of moving pieces are going to depend on that. So when we upload an image, we want to upload it and then mess around with it, add effects to it, download, whatever. Okay, so let's create a new file here. I'm going to call this image store.ts. Okay, we're going to be using Zustand. But the way, if you use Zustand before, you might have used it in a specific way. We're going to do it in a different way. A bit of a better way, if I might say. The reason why is if you just do image store TS like that with Zustand, you're not rendering it out in the React context. So what we're gonna do is use React context together with Zustand to make sure that we can pass down like initial values and stuff like that to it. You're gonna see what I mean in just a second. So let's create that. So in our store here, let's define a get store like that. Okay, and in this what did I type there? Const get store. Okay, cool. Let's set this equal to, and what I want to return here is we're going to import create store, but we're going to import the vanilla version of it like that. Okay, and then here we're going to say return. And what we need is, I'm going to paste this in for a second, but I'll show you. I separated this in a new file. As you can see, it's a create Zustand context here. Let me just show you. I just added it in this new file here. Okay, so make sure you mark this as TSX. So this just takes quite a bit of types here. That's why I didn't want to type in. So if you want to copy this over from GitHub or just type it in manually, feel free. But it essentially takes in, it essentially creates a React context for us like that, and we can pass down the initial values and we can return a use context, a provider, and a context here. So we're essentially just wrapping this vanilla Zustand inside React context. That's all that's happening here. Okay, so the way we can work with this is we'll say get store, and here we'll set that equal to, here we're gonna have some parameters, but let's just do an arrow function. And let's return create store like that. And this is going to take in some state. So how is the state for this bit of code look like? Well, what do we want to do here? Well, let's say we want to, I don't know, when we upload an image, let's say we want to do like a loading screen. So I can say generating here, or like when we're applying an effect to it, right? We want to make sure, hey, is this like loading or generating or uploading? So it's just going to be like a simple Boolean. I'm going to set that to false and then set generating as well. This is going to just take in a generating Boolean here, so I can pass either true or false to it, and it's not going to return anything. So I'm going to say void. Okay, so I can call this set generating and say false or true, and that's going to flip that over. Okay, so there we go. We pass down the state there like that. And the reason why this is not working is because this needs to be passed down as a generic. So state like that. Cool. Open another pair of parentheses here at the end like that, and we can import the persist here from Zustand middleware. Okay, this is going to make sure that even if we leave the application or refresh the page, we can still head back there and we're not going to have any problems. So here we're going to open up another set parentheses and say set. And here we can set our data finally. So let's do generating. You can set that to false. Set generating as well. It's going to take in a generating here. And it's going to set generating like that. Okay, so we can call this and then just update it like that. Cool. Okay, what's the problem here? Type boolean is not assignable to type false. Okay, that's fine. We're gonna fix that. One more thing we need to do is this persist here is gonna take in another object as the second parameter. So after the yellow parentheses here, open up another pair of curlies, and let's call this image store like that. Or let's call this images store like that. And we can also define how we want to save this. So I'm going to say storage. We're going to do JSON. So we're going to say JSON storage, local storage like that, and hit save. Okay, cool. Okay, so we can head back here. The error we're getting here is because I didn't set this to Boolean, I just set it to false instead. Okay, there we go. So there's our store. This is ready to go. So now here at the bottom, we can export the image store and we can create that Zustand context that we made. Okay, so this file. So the reason why I made this again is I essentially want to export this image store. And on this image store now you can do stuff like, let me just pass in the get store that we made up here. Right, so I'm passing that in here. So now with this image store, if we export this, look at that, we can do a provider and just wrap it around the component, which is super, super cool. Okay, but we can also create a kind of hook as well. So we can call use image store here. I'm gonna take in the T as a generic. We're gonna have a selector here. That's gonna be a type of state. And it's gonna return that T for us. Okay. Let's initialize that store. We're gonna say use context here because we want to actually consume that context. The image store context, that's where it is. So we can just pass that down like that. Why is this not working? React is not imported. Is it not? It's not. There we go. Cool. And then here we can just do a simple check. If there's no store, then it means that we don't have a provider wrapped up. So we can just say throw new error. And let's just say missing image store provider. Cool. And that's it. So if that's all right, then we can just return the use store here with the store and the selector. Okay, and we're pretty much gonna use this as kind of a template for all of our other stores. Now, normally this would be fine to just make one here, but in our case, you know, let's try to make two just so we get some practice in. Now, here's the cool bit. Before that, in like Zustand, you would just put your state here, right? So you create the store, and I'm putting generating to false here, right? But what if a React component re-renders, right? Well, then it becomes a bit blurred what's going on. But check this out. Rather than doing that, here's what we can do. With the get store here, we have access to initial state. Okay, so if I do generating here and set this to a string like that, I can do, instead of false here, I can do initial state dot generating like that. Okay, let's hit save. Why is that erroring out? Oh, I call this a Boolean, sorry, a string. Let's call it a Boolean instead. There we go. So now that we set that up and just pass initial state, where does this come from? Well, check this out. If we head over to our app, I can get that image store, import it, and now I can just pass down the initial value here. So if I do image store.provider, I can do initial value, and check this out, generating, I can set that to false. So now when my page here is getting re-rendered, I know for a fact that my initial value is going to be the one right here, which is fantastic. Okay, so that's pretty much how it works. You set your initial values here. As you can see, you have access to that provider, and that's going to go down here into there. Lovely job. Okay, let's just create a new state as well. This is the only other one that we're going to need for this application. So we're going to have a layer store. Okay, we're going to save these images on layers, the videos on layers, because then we want to apply effects, turn, delete layers, you know, edit them, update them. So let's just create a layer store tsx as well. I'm pretty much going to copy a lot of the code here. So like all the imports are still going to be the same, like vanilla, Zustand, React, and storage. Next up, we're going to need some sort of layer. So I'm just going to paste this in and kind of walk you through it. Okay, so we have a layer here. I'm saving the public ID. I'm saving the width, the height, URL, ID, format. Poster here is going to be, because some videos basically don't have an image, right? So I'm saving this separately as a poster because we can extract an image from the video to display on the layer tab, kind of to represent the video. Then we have the resource type. This is used to kind of just tell us if it's an image or a video. And then this transcription URL here is used to basically, if we transcribe any videos, we can download those subtitles. Okay, now we have another state here. I'm going to just type this out for you. This is our big main state. That's just part of a layer. So we have layers here, which is going to be an array of these, right? Because we're going to have loads of them. Next up, we're going to have add and remove, which is going to be super simple. Add is going to take in just a layer. Remove is just going to take in an ID because you don't really need anything else. I also want to be able to like click on layers and set the active layer. So that's how we do that. Again, just an ID we need there. And then here we just pass down the actual layer type. We can do an update layer as well. So again, that just takes in the layer. Set poster as well, which is going to take in like a poster URL and the ID of the layer. We're going to have a set transcription as well, which is going to take in an ID and the URL for the transcription. We're also going to have a layer comparison mode so we can like quickly check the results. So that's just going to be a Boolean. And then here we can set that as well to true or false. And then the actual compared layers are going to be, it's just going to be like a string of an arrays. So we're going to do compared layers because we only want to be able to compare images and images that are different from each other. So all we really need here is like a name or something or their ID, and that's that. And then here to set the compared layers, again, we just pass in the array of strings. Okay, and toggle compared layers, again, just an ID here. And that's it. That's all the state we're going to need for this application. Okay, now let's do the get store as well. So let's just head to the bottom here. Const get store. So let's set that equal to, it's going to have an initial state. So I'm going to do layers here. It's going to be a type of layer. And let's also do layer comparison mode. I'm going to say false by default for that. Sorry. Yeah. Layer comparison mode. So it's a Boolean, but we'll set it false. So let's run an arrow function here. We're going to return create store, pass in the state there. So let's go here in our create store, and I'm gonna do a setter. Oh, we should also do the persist, you know. Let's do persist. Open this up, and here we'll do a set. Now remember, this also needs a name here. Layer storage, there we go. So now here we can define our layers. So we can say initial state dot layers. Let's also do the add layer. So the add layer is going to be super simple. All we really need to do here is get the layer, right, and set basically spread everything that was in the layers already, and then add a new layer like that. Now, if you're still getting errors here, it's because we haven't like completed all of these steps here. So if we just go here and like comment that out, as you can see, we don't have any errors anymore. So if you want to like take your time, I really recommend just like copying this file over just to keep it simple, because there's quite a few functions in here. But that's one. That's add layer. Let's go here. Let's make a new one. That's the remove one. So here we're just running a filter on the ID and basically removing the one that doesn't match. We'll do the set active layer here as well. What this does is essentially finds that ID from the state and gets it. So let's start recommenting these out like that. Cool. Okay, so we have the set active layer as well. Now active layer is just going to be our initial state layer 0, which we're going to pass down as well. We're going to have an update layer as well, which is going to take in, it's just going to map over all the layers here. And it's either going to return, it's basically going to return everything and then just update that specific property that we want to. So as you can see, it returns layer, all the layer, or whatever we updated in that layer. So that's ready. And then finally, we have our set poster as well. Let's just add them all now because we're almost done with this. That's just gonna take, again, just kind of modify it the same way as update URL did here, but that's specific just for the transcription URL. Let's go here and set the transcription as well. We'll also add a layer comparison mode here, which we're gonna pass down into our initial state. We're gonna have a set layer comparison mode as well, which I don't think we have defined yet, so it's gonna error out. Let's head here to the top and let's define our, oh, we do have layer comparison mode. Let's head back here to the top and just uncomment everything now like that, just so we're good to go. Let's head down here. Okay, so we have compared layers. There's a couple more we need to add. We need to add set compared layers as well, which is again just going to take in layers of string there, and it's going to set the compared layers over to the layers that we pass down. And if the layers are at 0 here, bigger than 0, then we're essentially turning that layer comparison mode on. You're going to see this all in effect. We're going to come back to this and kind of see how everything works. I just want to kind of all set it up for now. And the last but not least, we are going to need to set up the final one, which is going to be our toggle compared layer. So that's going to take in a new compared layers here. It's going to check if it includes the IDs, and then it's going to do some filtering here. And that's pretty much it. Now I know, oh my God, this is like a massive, massive file here, but we're done with it. Again, I'll come back here every time we're going to use one of these. I'll jump back and explain kind of how everything works. So don't stress about it if this is a lot of code for now. Okay, so let's just finally export this as well. We're gonna say layer store. We're gonna import the Zustand context and pass down the store like that. All right, awesome. So here we can just do a function, use layer store, pass down the T, do a selector. It's gonna take in a state. Again, this is gonna pretty much look the same as the other one did. You know what? We could have just done a copy and made our life easier. So let's copy that, go back here, paste that in. The only difference here is this is a layer store now, so use layer store. Okay, everything still stays the same. This is a layer store instead, and that's that. We are done, guys. We finished. So again, we could have just done one here. I kind of wanted to show you how we can do 2. So let's just do 2. I'm going to wrap both of them in here. Again, I probably would have just kept it at 1, but just for the sake of this example, we're going to wrap this one up as well. So let's pass down the provider, and then we can pass down our initial values as well. So here, I can define my default layers. How do I want these to look like? For my case, it's going to be pretty much empty. So we're just going to define 1 here. Let's see, layers. Okay, an array, right? That's an array. And then I'll do 1 object here. So let's open this object up, and I'll just pass these values here. Okay, so an ID, I'll generate one with crypto. URL, height of 0, width of 0, public ID of 0. Okay, I don't need to set the other ones to format and whatnot because I don't have them anyway. So let's just add 1 layer there. Okay, and then the layer comparison mode, that's going to be false by default, so let's turn that on. And there we go. Hopefully we don't have any errors. Everything's looking still fine and dandy, and we are ready to start adding stuff. Lovely, let's get into creating our layers, which we're going to display on the right side here. So we're going to have effects on the left, layers on the right, and the image is going to be nicely centered there. Okay, so let's do our layer component. So let's kind of organize everything a little bit here. We're going to start adding them in files and folders. So in our components, let's just make a new folder here because we're going to have a couple of stuff. We're going to call this layers like that. Okay, let's add a new one here. Let's call this layer image.tsx. Actually, since this can also be like a video technically, let's just call it a layer instead. Layer, there we go. So let's head to the top. We're gonna import use client. We're also gonna import the layer store like that. I wonder if that's gonna cause, an issue here. I guess we could name it. Let's just call it layer image, okay? There we go, just so we don't have any weird collisions because I want to name this layer as well. So let's do export default function layer image like that. This is going to take in a layer. This is going to be a type of layer. There we go, we can just import that in like that. Cool. Okay. So the thing I want to check here, like immediately, if we have a URL. If we don't have a URL, I don't even want to display anything. So let's do layer URL. So if there's no layer URL, sorry, if there is a layer URL, then I want to return everything here. So let's just do a return, and we're gonna do a div. Let's add a class name. I'm gonna add a width of, let's do width of 12, height of 12. Okay, so let's just use this to actually render out the image on top of the layer. Okay, so this is specifically the image layer. So let's just keep it simple like that. Okay, so width 12, height of 12, we'll do a flex with items of center and justify of center. Cool. So here we can have the image. Let's just import the image component from Next.js. There we go. And I'll open this up. We can self-close it actually. Let me paste in this class name here that I have on it. So all we need to do is add a width of full, height of full, object of contain on it. The alt here can be, it can be the actual layer name. So layer.name. And what else do we need? We need the source as well. So here I can check if the layer format triple equals to like MP4. Then I want to display the layer poster instead. Remember how we saved that in the store? Well, that's what we do. Otherwise, or layer URL like that. Okay, so basically if the source here equals to MP4, so here if the source equals to MP4, I actually just want to return the layer poster instead. Okay, and then we can add a specific width and height to it. So I can say 50, height 50 here. And I can also see we have a type error here. So I can say, and if the layer.name is not present, then I don't want to render this out at all. Okay, cool. So we got that. And then let's just also display the format here. So I can add a p tag like that. And what I'll do here is say layer name and just slice this, because if it's super long, I don't want to display all the characters. So I'm gonna say something like 15, like that. But what we can also do here, if I just reformat this a little bit, I can actually add the layer format at the end there as well. If I just add a dot, and if I do backticks here, like that. Okay, now that I have this layer image, I can create a layers component and just like loop over all of them. So let's do layers.tsx. All right, and let's do use client here at the top. You don't even need the use client here, to be fair, because you already marked your parent component as a use client, so it will automatically become one. But let's just export default function layers here. Let's open this up and let's return some stuff. Return, so I want to return the card for this as well, like that. I'll add the class names for it. So I'll just paste it here because it's quite a bit. So I added the basis here with a fixed basis of 320 pixels because we're gonna display these flex, shrink of 0, and then I did some scroll bar, style it up a little bit because I don't like the default one, and this makes it look quite nice. It's like a nice bluish color to it. Overflow X of hidden, and then just like a flex call with some shadow on here. Okay, so that's our card. Super simple. Let's open this up. And then we have our card header as well. On the card header here, what I want to display is just like information about the layer, right? That would be cool. So we can just do a div in here, do a card title, and I'm gonna say active layer. So we need the active layer here, right? So what we can do is just go to the top and import that and actually use our store for the first time. So let's get our layers. So here's how you use it. Use layer store, and you can get the state like that. State dot layers. So I can pretty much do the same for anything I want. If I want to get the active layer, I can just do active layer like that. Okay, so now basically I can check, hey, if my active layer name, right? That's why I want to output there. If we don't have anything, just output layers here as kind of like the title. And I also want to add a class name of text small. Okay, so that's our card title. Let's also do a description. So I want to check if the active layer width exists and the active layer height exists. Then what I want to do is do a question mark here, open this up, and I'll render out a card description here. That's essentially going to output the active layer width, X, active layer height. There we go. Otherwise, if we don't, then just return null. Cool. Now we can go down here and do our card content as well, which is where we're going to render out all of our layers. So in the card content, let's do map. So we're going to take all of those layers that we have, map over them. We're going to have access to the layer and the index here. Let's run the function. There we go. And actually, let's just implicitly return here like that. We'll do a div here. Of course, that's not going to work. There we go. Div. Let's go here on the div, add a key to it as well. So we're going to say layer ID. There we go. We're going to do an on click as well in just a sec. But let's just go down here, create another div. And we'll do one more in here because we'll need to add some stylings to this. We'll say here if there's no layer URL, question mark, we'll output a p tag saying new layer like that. Okay, and I'll also add a bit of class names to this. So what I'll do, and otherwise here we're going to return null. Okay, so what I'm doing, if there's no layer URL, just display new layer there on the text and justify it at the end. Okay, so let's just go back and render this out because right now we have nothing going on here. So let's just do layers here. There we go, layers, and hit save. Okay, let's have a look. Does this even work? And look at that, we do already have an image uploaded. Let me just clear my store here because we're persisting everything. So let's just go, here's how you can do that. You can go over to the non-network tab. Where is it? The application, here storage. There we go, images storage, layer storage. I think I had a couple of other ones here. Let me just delete these. Okay, so refresh. And there we go. So as you can see, it says layers here with new layer like that. Because we said, hey, if there's no active layer URL, then just display new layer here for us. Okay, now to actually add all like the necessary stylings and everything for it, because there's quite a couple here that we need to do. Let's do this. Let's go to the card content first of all, and the class name. say flex1 with a flex and flex of call, like that. Okay. Don't worry, we'll add more stuff here so you can see how this is going to look in the end. But here on this div where we're looping over, let's add a class name. Get rid of that. We'll do a class name merging instead. And we're going to say cursor pointer. There we go. Let's also add ease in and out. We'll do a hover of background secondary. Border of just a border. And then we'll do border transparent. And here now what we're going to do after this is we're going to add a comma. I'm going to open up a new object. I'm going to say animate pulse here if the generating is on. All right, so if we're generating something, I want this to be animated pulse. So let's also import our generating. This is coming from the other store that we made. So use image store and we can see generating and generating there as well. Cool, so now this will animate pulse every time generating is turned on. Cool, and that's pretty much everything that we need. We're gonna come back here just for a second when we upload a couple more images because we want to be able to like do an on click and set the active tabs on each. But let's just go here and finish up all these stylings. So on this outer div here, we're gonna add a class name of relative with a bit of padding and item center. On this div in here, we're gonna do a flex with a gap of 2, just add a slight height to it as well. And I think that might pretty much be it. Now let's just go here at the bottom of cart content and we're gonna add the div where we're essentially gonna add a couple of buttons in here to create like a new layer and stuff like that. So let's import the button component from Shadn. I don't think we actually, what did I press there? Oh no. I don't think we actually installed it. So let's just head back here and go to button. There we go. Let's install this. Close that up, install the button. Here we go, let's expand this and we're gonna import the button component like that. And the text we're gonna add here is, let's do a span, create layer like that, because we're also gonna install Lucid React, which is used for icons. Lucid, it's either React Lucid or Lucid React. I'm not sure. We'll try this one, hope it works. I can actually check quickly. Give me a sec, sorry. Lucid React, it's Lucid React. We got it. Okay, cool. Okay, now that we added that, we can run this back up, npm run dev. And right below here, let's also add a layers 2 icon from Lucid React. So there we go. Let's self-close this. We'll give it a size of 18. And let's also give it a class name of text extra small. And we did the size already. So let's just do a secondary foreground for the text and hit save. Okay, let's head back here and have a look. Let's refresh this. That needs a refresh. Is this running? It's running. All right, there we go, create layer. As you can see, that color, we can't see it. So let's take the button here and add a little class name to it. Say width of full, flex gap of 2, and let's do the variant as outline. Does that look any better? A little bit. I do prefer that. Okay, lovely. This is still looking horrendous, but don't worry. One more thing we need to do is add a sticky on this div like that. Because again, we're gonna have a law here. So this is going to expand out and out and out, and we just want to make sure that that always stays sticky there. Again, this is all going to be moved here to the side in just a second, I promise you. We might actually just get into doing that now to like kind of style this up nicely. But there we go, we have our layer tabs, we have our uploading image tab. So let's head back to our editor and let's style this up. Okay, so we can remove this. Here, We can add a class name. We can say flex and a height of full. Okay, so there we go. They're coming side to side now, which is great. As you can see, the height doesn't stretch all the way out, which is quite annoying. So what we can do is go back to our global CSS. And what we can do is here in the base, I can say HTML at a height 100%. And I want to make sure my body also has a minimum height of 100%, like that. Does that do anything? Nope. Well, that means if it doesn't do anything, that means something's happening in your layout. So let's check the layout. That might be the cause of it. So let's head back over to our page. And as you can see, we have a main tag here. So let's add a height full to this. That's why it doesn't work. Height full, there we go. And then in the editor, if we have height full as well, we should see this getting stretched all the way out, hopefully. It doesn't, no. Okay, well, let's see. So body is full, our main tag's on full. There we go. I forgot to add a height of 100% on the body as well. And there we go. So now in our app TSX, I also removed the main. We should add it back. That's silly to do. There we go. Main, class name, height of full, and you should have this now stretching all the way out like that, which is fantastic. So as you can see, it has a set height now, which is great. There's our layer as well. So this is going to be pushed here to all the way to the right in just a second. But there we go, layers, upload image, and this is going to also switch with the current upload image. So if we're uploading and it's finished uploading, it'll change to a new component. Okay. So we are getting there. We are setting this up. It's looking fantastic. Okay, so there's one more thing that we need in our editor here. So we're gonna have our upload image. We're gonna have our layers. And up here at the top, we're also gonna have our toolbar. So let's just do a div here. We're gonna add a class name. I'm gonna say py of 6, px of 4, and a min width. You can do basis here as well. Whoops. Just so we're consistent of, let's do 360 pixels. We're gonna modify this if we need to, and a shrink of 0, just how we did in the layers component as well. Okay, so div here, we're gonna add a class name. This is gonna be our toggle for dark mode and light mode. So let's just do a text center here, and let's do a mode toggle. We don't have this, but we'll make it right now. Okay, so mode toggle. What do we need for this? We need to install Shadn's theme. So theme. Let's search it up. Theme. There we go. That's not the one. Dark mode. Here we go. Next.js. Next themes. That's what it's called. Pop it in. Have a good life. There we go. Cool. And then we just need this provider here. So we'll copy that. We'll go over, I don't mind adding this in the lib, theme provider.tsx. Let's paste that in. And now we just need to go to our layers, sorry, not layouts, not layers. There we go. And we just need to wrap our children here with that provider. So let's do theme provider. Wrap that up. And I believe we need to pass some default here. I believe it's the attribute, if I remember. Yeah, so we can pass down the class attribute, and we can even do a default theme. So I can say system for that one. And we can say enable system as well. Lovely. Okay, so we have that. And now all we need to do is get kind of the toggle. So I believe they also have that one in a component, so you can just copy paste it, and here it is. So this is straight from the docs. And let's go, where should we go? Let's go, we'll still add it to lib here and just call it mode toggle tsx. Paste that in there. As you can see, this uses a drop-down component. Here I've noticed that they're using Lucid, Radix UI. But since we have Lucid installed, you can just do that and it'll work. I promise. Okay, what component does this need? So this relies on the drop-down menu. So let's also install the drop-down menu. Here we go. Let's do a copy. Open this up and paste it in. And there we go. This is ready to go. So we can just save this now, head back over to our editor, and just import this mode toggle in there like that and hit save. All right, I think we can have a quick look. So let's go here, refresh. We should have the mode toggle now, so it shouldn't error out anymore. Let's actually take these components and move them in, our components folder, just to make it a bit more organized. So I'm just gonna call this team, and I'm gonna move the team provider in there and also the mode toggle. There we go. That'll keep everything a tad bit more organized. So let's move that in there as well. Cool. So now we just need to update our imports. So there we go, mode toggle. So this is not coming from there, it's coming from components, team, mode toggle instead. And then our layout is also gonna have the team provider coming from / components / theme provider. And now if we have a look now, there we go, our dark code is working perfectly fine. We can go between system, dark, and light. Cool. Now let's add a basis to this. As you can see, it's not working. I believe it's because I missed the line there. And there we go. Now we have a nice size. That's a bit too big. We'll do maybe 240 like that for the side panel, and that's looking good. Now what I want to do here, so we have that, we have the upload image, and we'll also have an active image down here, active image. So we'll create this as well. So let's head over to the components here, and we're gonna create a new file and call this active image.tsx. Okay, perfect. Let's head over here. We're gonna say export default function active image. And now I want a couple of pieces of state here. So I want to have generating in here. There we go. Let's extract that. I also want to have active layer here, accessible. And this is coming from our layer store now. There we go. I'll also do layers as well. And let's return, well, let's say if there's no layer URL, then I'm not gonna return anything. So if there's no active layer URL, then return null. Sorry, if there's no active URL, it's an if, there we go, then return nothing. Otherwise, we'll have our rendered layer here. So I'm just gonna create a const here. It's gonna be a layer that's the type of layer. And this is just gonna return something for us, okay? So we're gonna do a div here. It's gonna have an image with the source set equal to layer URL. There we go. The alt is gonna be layer dot name. There we go. Let's also import this layer because it's not getting the type. So there we go. Well, we're gonna put fill equal to true, so it takes up all the space. And then here we're gonna do a little bit of magic with the class name. We're gonna pass down the generating in there like that. See, cn generating. So if it's generating, animate it as a pulse. All right. And we'll need the image in from Next.js as well. There we go, the cn here as well. But what I want to check up here is if the active layer URL and the active layer name exist, then I want to render this out. Okay, so we can add an exclamation mark to both of these just to get rid of that error as well. And finally, what we need to do now is to check what type of resource type this is. So if it's an image, then then render this image, right? So layer dot resource type triple equals to an image. Well, then let's render this all out like that. Okay, if it doesn't, if layer dot resource type triple equals to a video, for example, then instead we want to render out a video tag. So it's pretty much going to be the same here. We're going to pass down the width and the height instead, like that. We're going to add controls as well. But for the source here, I want to say layer transcription URL is going to be the first one. Otherwise, layer URL. So the reason why I'm doing this is if a video has the transcription on it, display it. Okay, don't display the layer URL that doesn't have it on it. Okay, and that's pretty much everything that we need there. We can just return something from this function at the end. So at the end here, we can go return, and we'll do a div. I'm going to add a couple of class names on this. So with full, relative, with a padding of 24, flex, item center, justify center, and a BG of secondary there as well. And the cool bit here is I can just do render layer now and the active layer. So I'm passing the active layer. If it's a video, it's going to do a video. If it's an image, it's going to do an image. Okay, that's the whole idea behind it. Okay, lovely. So this is already our active image is ready to be imported. So we can just pop it in there like that. So now as well on the upload image, we can handle our logic here to actually set the state. So let's head to our upload image. And what we're going to do is right here. Okay, so let me just have a quick look. Okay, so we're creating this object URL. Let's set that generating. Let's import that. Let's go to the top. I'm going to import a couple of states that I need here. And these are the ones. Set generating, active layer, update layer, and set active layer. These are the ones we need. So let's import the use layer store here. Cool. Okay, so here, what I want to do is set the generating to true, right? We're doing some work. Cool. Then what we're going to do is update the layer. So we're going to say update layer. I'm going to do the ID. And the one I want to update is going to be the active layer.id. All right, we already have this when we created the layer. And the URL here is the most important bit in this update layer. Is I want to set it equal to this object URL so we can see the image immediately as soon as it gets uploaded. The width here, we're going to put this to 0. Height is going to be 0. We don't know about it yet. The name, we can put it to something like uploading for that to be displayed there. The public ID can be nothing. Again, we can just leave these empty. There we go. The format can be empty as well. And the resource type, we know it's an image because we're uploading an image here. Okay, and that's it. So after that, I'm going to say set active layer to the active layer.id. All right, so after it's uploaded, I want to make sure that this layer gets like focused on and activated and displayed. So that's all we're doing there. After we get the image back here, we can check if the response.data is an error or a success. So as you can see, it's only returning me an error, which shouldn't be correct. Here we should only return a success or an error. So let's see where we goofed it up. It's returning a success there. Now, if you don't get the type here, we need to go back to our upload image and just return the type here for it. So let me have a look. So here, as you can see, the action here, you can add a promise of upload result on top of it as well, like that. All right, so now if we go back here, we can check if the data.success, there we go. That's gonna give us back our actual data. We can update the layer again. Okay, so here, let's open this up. I'm gonna call update layer, open this up, and I'm gonna pass in the new values. And this is how you can get them. So ID is going to be the same. We're going to do active layer ID. URL is going to come from here. Res data success URL. The width as well. The name is going to be original final name. Public ID as well. That's just to kind of track the Cloudinary ID, format, and resource type. Okay, that's all we need. Lovely. Okay, so we uploaded this. This is ready to go. And again, we can do set active layer here to the active layer.id. There we go. So in case we upload a new image, it's just going to jump to that directly. And finally, set generating is going to head back to false. Lovely. One more thing is if this errors out as well, res data.error, I want to make sure that set generating is back to false. Okay, so this doesn't look great yet, but we can try uploading an image now. Let's do the dog, and look at that. Boom, did you see that? It was flashing already. That's because we already set it here in the update layer with the object URL. But we got this message saying that Cloudinary is not added to our like image hosting here. So you got to do this like remote patterns in your config. So if you just head over to next config MJS, let's go check this out. And we'll just copy this over this whole shebang. Open this up and paste it in there. We don't need everything here. We just need this here, rescloudinary.com. So let's get that. And the host name here is what we want to replace. I'm not sure if we necessarily need the protocol. We'll see. And looks like we are good. No, that worked. Perfect. So now here's the thing. There's a couple of things just so we can make this really nice looking now. Is I want to make sure this disappears when we upload an image. Okay. And looks like there's still some problems here with our layers. It's not showing up, so we'll fix that as well. But let's start off with this. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to head back to our app. Let's head over to our upload image. Okay, so what I want to do here is essentially not even return this if we don't have a URL, right? So if there's no active layer URL, then don't return this. There we go. So there, now it's gone. Okay, so that looks much better. So as you can see with our layer header as well, we have file there, which is the file name in our case, and then the resolution as well getting displayed there, which is great. Okay, so there we go. So that works fine, but our actual like layer here is not getting displayed at all. So let's see what's going on. There we go. So here we're saying if there's no layer URL, display this, right? But if there is a layer URL, we do want to display something. So we want to display the layer info, right? So let's head down here to the bottom where we're going to import the layer image. We haven't done this. So let's paste that in there. And this is going to take in a layer prop, which is going to be our layer. There we go. There's our layer. Okay, things are showing up. That's great. But that doesn't look too nice yet. So let's head over into our layer image and see how we can style this up a tad bit. So I was wondering why this wasn't working. It's because we added 2 X's for the flex, and that's not what we want. So we'll do 1 instead, like that. Okay, justify center, that's still fine. There's no problem here. We can keep everything the way it is. I also want to be able to like view more details of a layer and then like delete it. So for that, we're going to create a new component. So let's head over to our layers and we're going to create one called layer info.tsx. There we go. So here what we want is we're going to do a use client at the top, and we're going to want to use the dialog component from Shadn. So if this is not installed, let's just head over here and say dialog. Just copy this over and paste it in. There we go. One more thing we're going to need is the button. Let's add the button as well. We're going to need some icons like the trash icon and the ellipses, and also the layer store as well. So let's add that back in as well. Let's go down to the bottom. We're going to say export default function layer info. Now I want to pass down some parameters, some props to this. So I'll do layer and the layer index. That's what I need. So let's do layer. That's the type of layer. And the layer index is just a number, right, that we're passing through. Okay, fancy business. We are smashing this. So let's do the layer store to have access to our state here. And the layers. Let's do plural on that. There we go. For this one, let's do the set active layer. And finally, let's do remove layer as well. Okay, cool. So we have all this set up. So basically what I want to happen is I want to return a dialog box, right? So we'll do a dialog, and we're going to have a dialog trigger. So what triggers this dialog? It's going to be our button here. It's going to say ellipses. It's just going to be an icon. There we go. We can do a size on this, 18. And the trigger here, I'm going to say as child. So the button acts like the trigger instead. And I'm just going to, the variant here, say outline. Okay. Now the dialog content. What do I want to hear? Well, I want to add a H3 here. That's just going to say the layer ID, like that. And I'll do another big div in here. Just to make this simple, I'm just doing the file name, format, and size, and outputting all the info here. Finally, we'll need a button to actually trigger stuff. Do a button. Can do a span, delete layer. Can do a trash icon as well from Lucid. Trash 2, wow, we got an update. It's got a sequel. We'll do 16 for that. Cool. Small, 14. Okay, now finally here, what we want to do is add an onClick and delete that layer. So I'm going to take an event. We're going to stop propagation here, just so this doesn't run when we just click on the card. And then we set the active layer over to the layer index. I'll check if that's 0, right? We kind of go negative with the indexes. So I'll just say layers 1 ID. Otherwise, so the first one, right? Otherwise layer 0 ID. Is that what I meant? Is that if there's nothing, just pick the first one. So what I'm doing here is if I'm deleting all the layers, I want to make sure that it just jumps back to the first one. Okay, and that looks like it's it. So we can give this a shot. We can head back to our layers, and here we can add our layer info now. All right, there we go. This takes in the layer and the layer index, which is going to be our index. And that's it. Let's hit save and go have a look. Let's do a refresh. We might need to run this back up again. And there we go. Look at that. We have some buttons here, and look at that. It expands, and we can delete that layer. Delete. And looks like we got an error. Okay, that's fine. We'll fix that. But there's a couple of things I want to fix here. One, this is a tad bit too big here, in my opinion. So for the layer info, let's just head over to, not the trash icon, the ellipses here. Let's just change that to 14. There we go. That was too massive. And then if we open this up, you're going to see that that's kind of stuck together there. So we can add a little bit. We can say class name, flex, item center, and a gap of 2, just to kind of separate that tad bit. There we go. Look at that. Cool. All right. So now we have a nice little panel here that we can click on and see. It'd be also nice to be able to select other layers as well. So let's hook this create layer up just so we can switch between a couple here. So create, where is this? Let's see where we save this. Here at the bottom. Yeah, create layer. Okay, so when we click on add layer here, all we really want to do is run a function that adds the layer. I don't think we imported this. So let's just copy that. Let's name this add layer. There we go. So add layer. I just need to pass everything down here, right? So I'll just generate a random UUID, URL 0, height 0. We don't care, right? Just empty layer. Okay, click. Boom, look at that. We're creating new layers. Now it'd be nice to be able to click on them and to set them active as well. So let's head over to our card first. And this is what we want to do, right? We want to add the border to it. So if this layer is active, we should be able to see it somehow. So here where we have animate pulse, let's go down, and we're also going to say border primary. So I want to have a border primary when do I want it? When the active layer ID triple equals to layer ID, right? So these match. And there we go, look at that. We got the nice highlight going on there. But when we click on another one, see, it doesn't set the active layer to it. So we'll need to fix that as well. So let's go here, right below the key, we're gonna say onClick, run a function, and we're gonna say if generating first of all, then return. All right, we don't wanna do anything if we're still generating. And then we can just say set active layer. We need to import this as well. Set active layer. There we go. And all we need to do is pass in the layer ID. There we go. And now look at that. We should be able to click between these. And now we get our upload form, right? Because that's empty. So it works. Lovely. The problem is this gets squashed. So we get this big layout shift, which we don't want. So let's fix that as well. So upload image, right? That's where we need to go to. And what I'll do instead is with the upload here, I'll create another one called upload form, because this is going to hold both the upload image and upload video. So let's just kind of start making it now so it's a bit more organized for us. So let's do a use client at the top. We'll import like the card component and the use layer store here. There we go. Let's go and do an export default function. Upload form like that. All right, so here what I want to do is just get the active layer. And then here we'll say if there's no active layer, URL, and there's no, and that's it for now. Then what we're going to do is return a div. There we go. The class here, we're going to add a width full to this, right? So it takes up all this space. Padding of 24, the same that we had on the image. Flex call, justify center, and a height of full. There we go. So now here is where we want to essentially do the selected type. So we need to, let's just create a state here quickly. Const selected type. We don't need this to be global. It's fine if it's kind of scoped to this component. So I just want to use an image state like that. Cool. So I can check here if the selected type triple equals to an image, then question mark, I can do the upload image instead. Otherwise, null. So here what we'll be able to do, if it's a video, we can do upload video instead. Okay, cool. So let's render this out instead of the upload image. And hit save. Okay, so now as you can see, even when we go between these, at least the layout is not shifting anymore, which is great. Okay, let's try uploading a different image. Make sure everything works fine. And it does. There we go. Now this is not sized too well. Like this is stretching out too much at the top, so we'll fix that. So let's head back here to our active image. And I'm going to add a couple of classes here to this div. So there we go. We'll add those. Just, oh, is that not working? There we go. So relative with a width full and just justify center item center. And there we go. That should like push it in a bit. And then we have our proper 24 padding on each side, which looks great. Okay, finally, let's kind of fix up the little this is kind of stuck together too much there, which I'm not a big fan of. So let's head to our layers and fix that. What I'll do is go here and add some fragments instead in my layer image, bring it down there, and I'm just gonna move this inner div here outside like that. There we go, and that should fix our problem. There we go, now everything is distributed equally there. Cool, lovely, that looks good to me. As you can see, there's a little layout shift there when this is not being displayed. There, the resolution. So what we can do is add like a minimum height to this card header. Yeah, let's go here and just do like a sticky with a top of 0, a z index of 50, so it stays in front, px of 4, py of 6, and the min height of 24 or so. With a bg card and shadow of small. And there we go. Now if we click, see it doesn't have the layout shift anymore because we added that min height there. There was one more thing we forgot in our layer info, is that to remove our layer. So let's call it remove layer, and we're gonna say layer ID here like that. Lovely. So that's done. That should be pretty much good to go, so we can test that out as well. Click this, delete, and look at that. We're on the first image. If we delete that, perfect. Okay, let's try uploading another one. Let's go with this one. All right, we got the generating as well. Did you see the flash there? So that's working lovely as well. Cool. There's no point really adding more functionality to the layers unless we actually have some effects going on. So let's actually start building out, yeah, a couple of things that we can do with AI. So let's do it all. Let's create a toolbar here in the side. Okay, so components, let's call this toolbar like that, because we're gonna have image toolbars and video toolbars. So image toolbar.tsx like that. Okay, so the image tools is gonna be export default function image tools like that. Let's return. There we go. And let's say the first one we want to do is like a gen remove, which is like you can select any part of the image and remove it. So let's call it generative remove like that. And we'll create this as well. We're just going to create it here, gen remove.tsx. Okay, you're going to see how impressive and simple it is to do all of this with Cloudinary's API. I think you're going to be surprised. Okay, so here's our gen remove. Use client, I'm gonna say export default function. And once we have one of these made, it's really easy to make a bunch more. Okay, so we'll need a couple of things here, like these. We'll do the set generating. We'll do the layer store to get the active layer, the add layer, and set active layer. Let's return. And what we're gonna do here is a pop over, and I believe we don't have that, so let's add that. Here we go, let's copy the pop over. Copy the pop over. Let's install that. There we go, and then we can import the pop over. Again, make sure you don't do from Radix UI. It's very easy when you do these imports to do it from Radix UI. Just make sure it's from Shadn, or actually your like UI here folder. Okay, let's run this back up. So for the trigger here, I'm just gonna do, let's do pop over trigger. pop over trigger. There we go. All right, let's add it to the bottom as well. And then we're just gonna have a simple button. There we go. And an eraser here like that from Lucid. Okay, that's all it does. So it's just a popover that's gonna open up the content down here. Popover content. Oops, see, where did I import that from? Who knows? Probably Radix UI. Okay, popover content. Okay, so I'm gonna add a class name of vfull to this. Let's go down, edit div. We'll do a, what should we do? Let's do a h3, and we're gonna say smart AI remove. Okay, cool. Let's do a padding, a p tag, and I'm just gonna say just some filler text here. Generative remove any part of the image. That's perfect. Okay, and then let's do another div below it. And what we're gonna do here is say class name. And we're gonna do a grid with a grid calls of 3, item center, and a gap of 4. I'm essentially wanna have an input here. So we'll do a label. And I think we'll need to install all of these. Label and the input tag as well. So let's copy that over, paste the label in, and get the input as well. There we go. All right, so now we are ready to use these. So let's run the server back up. Got our label. This is gonna say selection here. And this is gonna be HTML. So let's do label, import that, there we go. And the HTML4, this is gonna be our selection there. There we go, label's done. We can do our input as well. There we go, we can self-close this actually like that. I'm gonna say class name, col span of 2 with a height of 8, that's fine. The value that we're gonna add in here, we'll need some state here. Because what we can also do with Cloudinary is to extract parts of our image. So let's say we upload an image with, forest. So it's gonna tag the trees, it's gonna tag the sky for you, and it's gonna give them back for you. And I'll show you how we can do that. For now, this will be just like a convenience feature that you're gonna see. For now, let's just do a value here of active tag, and we'll set this active tag. We'll just create a state. There we go. And we're gonna say use state. By default, we'll put it to nothing. All right, so our active tag is nothing. Okay, and then on change here, we can essentially set the active tag. So let's get the event, set active tag over to e.target.value. Okay, so whatever we type in there, we can remove. But again, we're gonna have like a little feature here that you're gonna see soon. Okay, anyway, that's pretty much it. We can go down to the bottom and do a button. We're gonna add a class name of width full with a margin top of 4. And let's say here, we're gonna say magic remove. Okay, so what's gonna happen here? On click, we are gonna run an async function. We're gonna create a new layer ID. So crypto, random UUID, okay. There we go. Because we're creating a new layer where we're saving this new image. So that's why we need to generate a new ID. And then we can add the layer. So we're going to say add layer. And here we can pass down the ID, which is the new layer ID we just made now. The URL is going to be from res. Well, what we need to do is call this, right? call that function where we remove the thing. So, so let's go up here actually to the top and say set generating. That's the first thing we want to do, set that to true. And then we can say const res equals await gen remove. Okay, so let's create this quickly. So in our server, create one called gen remove .ts. Okay, so how can we use Cloudinary API to do all of this magic? Well, let me just show you. If we search AI in action on Cloudinary, you're going to see all the new stuff that you can do with this. Let me just head to the docs. So as you can see, we got generative background replace. You can remove the background. You can use generative fill to extend your image. We're going to use this as well. Recoloring as well. And it's as simple as, see, all of these, all you need to do is add a little, kind of a little something here to the URL to make this happen. And as you can see, you can do that straight up just with a URL. You can do it in Node.js as well if you do a Cloudinary image and pass the effect down like that, or in React like that. But we're going to stick to the URL. And the reason why we're going to stick to the URL is because we're going to be passing the URL down to our server action here. And this, unfortunately, the Cloudinary image is only going to take in an image. But what we want to do is, with the URL, right, let's say we apply different types of images already, different types of effects already to it. So we want to make sure we save it, right? So that's why we're using the URL version of this. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, one more thing that you need to do is some of these features will require you to activate a plugin, and they have a limit on that. So it is what it is. Okay, but I'll show you where that is as we go on here in the add-ons. There we go. That's where it is. Okay, so let's start off with the background, not the background removal, but like removing something from the image, right? So here we go, generative remove. So all you need to do is add theegen remove and the prompt here, like that, to the URL. Okay, that's all we need to do. Okay, so let's do it. We'll head over to our gen remove, mark this as use server. Okay, we're gonna do the same like Cloudinary config that we did before. So we'll import the upload response. All we really need actually is just Cloudinary here, like that. And then our schema. So our schema is gonna look like this. It's gonna take in Zod. Let's import Zod. So just a prompt and an active image, right? That's all we need. Okay. Then what we're gonna do is say export here at the bottom. Gen remove. It's going to be equal to an action client. We can import that. The schema is going to be this one from up here. And the action is going to be an async function where we're going to have our parsed input like that. And then in here, we can extract the active image and the prompt. Okay, so let's split this up. We can split it up in parts by saying active image.split. I can split it by the upload, like that. So in the URL, if we check, see the upload, and then I can just stick that in there. So the remove URL is going to look like this. It's going to be made out of parts 0 / upload /egen remove. And then we can just pop in the prompt here. Comma, not comma, sorry, / parts 1. And that's all. Okay, so now when we do this, this is gonna take a little bit of time to process, right? So what we wanna do essentially, since we don't have like, you know, async await or anything here, I can check this image, you know, if it's done processing or not. And the way we can do that is like this. So I can say, I just can create a let, say is processed, set that to false. And I can even do like a max attempts, set that to 20, and the delay, set that to like 500 milliseconds. Okay, cool. So we got all of that going. Now I can say for let attempt 0, we're just making a loop. Attempt is bigger than max attempts. Attempt plus plus. All right, old school for loop. So we can say is processed here is equal to await, and then I can do some sort of check here. So in my lib, I'll just make a new little helper function here called check processing.ts, like that. And all this is going to take in is going to be an async function that we're going to export async function check image processing. It's going to take in the URL, it's going to do a fetch on it. If the response is okay, it's going to return it. If the response is not okay, it's not. It's as simple as that. So we can say check image processing, like that. All right, so we're calling await on this. It takes in an argument, which is going to be our URL. So we can just pass that in, right? Remove URL. So if this is finished, we are good to go. Make sure we set that equal to 500 as well. Okay, cool. So done. We're checking that. And then we say if it's processed, then we're done, which means we can break out of this. Else, we'll await, not else, but we'll await a new promise and resolve this. There we go. We'll do a set timeout, resolve, and pass in the delay there for the time. Okay, and we are pretty much good to go. So we can say here, if it is not processed, then throw a new error and say image processing timed out. And we are good to go. Finally, after this is done, we can just return a success with the remove URL like that. Awesome. So now we can head back to our gen remove here. Let's make sure that's lowercase. I'm not sure what was uppercase there important. Looks like nothing, but okay. Gen remove. And we just need to pass down the prompt here, right? So prompt here in our case is going to be our active tag. And then the active image is going to be whatever active layer we are on. The URL, like that. Cool. Let's hit save. And now what we can do is say if res data success, so if everything is fine and dandy, we can set the generating to false. Okay. Let's see, we got the crypto random UID, so now this needs to move in there. So we can just do res data success there for the URL. And then everything else pretty much can be from whatever was on the active layer, right? Because the width and height hasn't changed, the name hasn't really changed at all. So we can keep that. But here for the name, you could do something like this. You can do like removed gen, removed, blah, 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 like that, and hit save. Okay, cool. So that should be working fine. Let's import the gen remove here as well in our image tools and get that rendered out on the screen. So let's head back to our editor. And we should do this. Oh, before we do that, my apologies. Let me head back to our gen remove. After we add the layer, I also want to make sure we set the active layer to this new layer ID. Okay, cool, lovely. Head back to the editor. And let's load that sucker up. So I'll do it here inside this little div here. I'll make a new one and say class name flex call with a gap of 4 because we're gonna have a lot of tools in here. So I'll just say if active layer resource type, well, I'll need to import that as well. Okay, so if active layer the resource type, I basically want to make sure, is this an image or a video? Okay, so if it's an image, then give me the image tools. You know what I mean? Like, what's the hold up? There we go. Okay, so check this out. Now if I go here and let's say I want to remove the blueberries here, I can type in blueberry, hit the magic remove, and boom, look at that. I made a new layer for us getting rid of all those blueberries. So how cool, it just works. Awesome, let's get rid of this layer now. So we can pretty much use this setup for all of the effects that we want to use. Okay, we're gonna get the URL, split it, add the effect, and then save it on a new layer. Let's also do one where we remove maybe the background of something. So let's head back here and create a new tool. We're gonna head over to our, where is it? Our toolbar. Let's make a new one, call this BG remove, like that. So this is gonna have a lot of the functionality the gen remove had. So we're gonna copy a lot of it over. So let's go to gen remove, copy and paste it in the BG remove. All right, and then we'll just need to change a couple of things. BG remove here. We're not gonna have this gen remove here for it anymore. We'll keep everything here. We'll come back to it and see kind of what we need, what we don't. This can be removed and say BG removal. And then here, let's just do an image. This is from Lucid, okay, not Next Images. It's actually an image of an image. That's not more confusing. Okay, cool. All right, and then here we'll do background removal. All right, we're gonna change the text here. I'm gonna say we're removing backgrounds. We're in that kind of biz. On the button, we'll need like we don't need a selection, right? Because we're just removing the background. Can get rid of that. Here, I should have mentioned this as well. We can disable all these buttons, and I'll go back to do it for the other one as well. But if we don't have like an active layer URL here, then this should be disabled. Or if we don't have an active tag, right, which is our selection, or if like we're generating, right, we shouldn't do any of that as well. So let's get generating in as well. There we go. We don't need this. We can comment this out. We can actually just, yeah, we'll just replace this with a new one, you know, and then it's pretty much the same. Okay, so generating that, what's wrong? Okay, what don't you like? What's a string here? Boolean. That's a string, isn't it? Okay, yeah. So if there's no active tag, then that's a Boolean then, right? Yep, it works now. Cool. Okay, so there we go. That's it. Here we can add the class name that we had as well. Actually, we added a with a full. So yeah, that's pretty much ready. All we need to do is magic remove here, go down. We can even modify this, say if it's generating, say removing instead. Otherwise, say remove background. Like that. Okay, so we need this BG remove server function as well. So let's just do the same. BG remove.ts. Like I said, we can just pretty much copy a lot of the functionality over like that. So let's go over to BG remove. So here, this is gonna be BG remove schema, and it's gonna be pretty much the same. We're not gonna need a prompt here. We're just gonna have an active image, which is a Z string. Oh, I had it here, I'm silly. And the format, so we'll do a format as well. There we go, because I want to essentially, if we're removing the background, might as well turn it into an SVG, into a PNG, right? That's just like another extra little bit that we can do for it. So active image, and then we can get the format in. So then here, actually, we don't really need, yeah, we're not gonna need an active tag here, so this can go away. get rid of that state. We don't need it. We're just removing the background. Okay, cool. Let's go back to the BG remove and see what else needs to be updated. So let's change this to BG removal. Action client, that's fine, that stays, that stays. Here what I want to do first of all is just get the actual format of this. So I'm going to say active image split by the format that I'm passing down. All right, so I have the format there, which is perfect. Now I'm going to convert it to PNG, and you can do that with Cloudinary. It's super easy. You just take the form. I'm just going to change it to PNG instead of JPEG. That's it, literally. You just add PNG in there. And that's it. Then you have your parts, and then you have your remove URL as well, or BG remove, yeah, whatever. BG remove. There we go, BG URL. Okay, you can pass that down there. Pass that down, pass that down. Cool. So here, rather than saying eGen remove prompt, we're gonna say instead e background removal, like that, and hit save. Okay, that's it. That's all the function that we need. So we can head back to our BG remove and update this. We can uncomment that, say BG removal here. We're not going to have a prompt, but we are going to have a format. And we can pass that down from active layer.format. There we go. Cool. So res.success. So here that stays the same. We're generating a random UUID, setting that to blah, blah, blah. Cool, cool, cool. We're setting the new background here as well. The format here, instead though, this needs to be a PNG now. Okay, and I think that's everything that we need to set. And set generating back to false. Let's just move that down here together like that. And we are looking good. One more thing, if there is some sort of, I don't know, server error, then we can see set generating to false. Okay, cool. Let's give that a go. Let's make a new layer. I'll upload a new image. So here we go. Let's upload this lady here. Oh, we also need to add the button here. I totally forgot that. So BG remove, we're gonna need to back to our image toolbar. And let's do a BG remove. And let's hit save. Okay, let's try this out. Remove background. And there we go. Look at that. It exported the image for us, but it's still a JPEG, as you can see by the white background. So we can fix that. Let's just get rid of it. We'll go here. See, we didn't use this PG convert. We should have passed that down instead, like that. Okay, so now it should work fine. So if we select her, remove background, let that process, and boom, look at that. We have that completely cut out. So let's get rid of this. We are done with that functionality. You know what would be cool is to add some sort of layer comparison. So if I do a background remove on that, I want to like be able to compare this like in a very easy fashion. So the way we can do that is I'll create a little component for us. I found this little compare slider that's really cool. So we can install that by saying npm I react compare slider, like that. Okay, cool. So npm run dev again. And let's create this image comparison. So let's go, where should we do this? In layers. Let's do it in our layers. We'll pop it in here, image comparison.tsx. There we go. We'll pop a use client at the top. This is going to be super duper easy. So what we'll do is import layer, the type, and we'll import from React compare slider, the React compare slider and React compare slider image as well. Okay, let's say export default function image comparison. I'm gonna pass in the layers here, like that, which is gonna be a type of layers. And here we'll check if the layers the length triple equals to 0, then there's nothing to compare, right? So div no layers selected for comparison. Okay. Otherwise, if the layer is not length is bigger than 1, sorry, let's say if a triple equals to 1, then we'll just return a div class name with a height of full, and we'll just return the first image, react compare slider image. You're gonna see this in just a sec. Okay, and we can pass the source in here as the first image like that. So source layer 0, the URL, and the source set as well. And I'll pass a class name there with a rounded of LG. Okay, so if triple equals 1, let's do that instead. Otherwise, we'll just return both the images that need to be compared. So we can say react compare slider, react compare slider image. There we go. And oh, the way we can do this is to pass it like this. So item 1 can pass that in. And then we can do item 2, pass that in. There we go. So that's how we're going to do it. And then here for this one, that's going to be layer 0. And then this is going to be layer 1, like that. Okay, so we're comparing the first one to the second one that we select. And that's pretty much it. Okay, cool. So that's our image comparison. And we can import this. So we'll go to our active image. And we'll actually do some checks here. Let's go to the top and kind of refactor this a little bit. So I'll import 2 more things here. The comparison mode and the compared layers. So now here, what I can also do is check for compared layers. I'll just check if the length triple equals to 0, then I should also return that. Otherwise, let's go here. We'll say if the layer comparison mode and the compared layers length is bigger than 0, then my comparison layers are compared layers .map. We'll get each ID and we'll say layers .find the layer, and I'll return the layer ID that triple equals to the ID. And then, whoops, something's messed up here. There we go. I need another pair of parentheses there. So we'll say LID triple equals ID. And we'll also do a filter here at the end. So I'll do a filter. I'll just return anything that's Boolean as a layer like that. Okay, so now that we have that, I can just go down here and I'll just do a div here and the image comparison as well. So I'll just pass in the layers here as the comparison layers like that. All right, lovely. So that's pretty much it set up there. So let's head back here. Again, we're not gonna have any changes here because we need to add a button to do all these comparisons, but we have some of the functionality set up here to display it. So to actually toggle the mode, we'll need to head back to our layers. Okay, so let's head back to our layers and we'll need to add a couple more things here. We'll need to import the layer comparison mode. We'll need to add the set layer comparison mode. The compared layers, the toggle compared layers, and set compared layers. I know, crazy. But that's it. Okay, well, you'll see how all this works in just a sec. And then one more thing we need to do is get the layer name that we're clicking on. So I'll just make a quick use memo function here. And the way this works is, hey, memo it, use memo, there. It's going to take in an ID, and then it's going to find it, and then return it. If it doesn't find it, it's going to say nothing here, because we're going to display that here at the top of the screen. So this image is being compared to blah, blah, blah. Okay. I also want to do a visible layers here instead of what we have. So visible layers here is pretty much the same. It's just going to check if the resource type is image, because I don't want to be able to compare videos, right? That makes no sense. I want to quickly like check if the image, kind of like in Lightroom how you have. So now that we have that, what we can do is let's just go down here, right, where we have our what am I looking for? Where are we mapping over everything, our layers? Here, let's just do visible layers here now. There we go. Visible layers map over that. Cool. And now what we can do is if we're in the comparison mode, I want to display a different card header here. So let's go here in the card header. Just hit enter a couple of times. Let's say layer comparison mode. So this is just a Boolean, right? So if this is true, we can do a div here. And I'll copy pretty much, I mean, most of this over like that. And here for the card title, let's just say comparing. Now for the card description here, well, let's just remove all of this here, because what we're gonna do instead is do card description with an image here. So let's import image from Next.js. There we go. And then here I'm just gonna call get layer name, right? We made this little function here that's gonna find it. So I'm just gonna say get layer name and pass in the compared layer 0 as a string. We're gonna do arrow right here for the comparison. And then if it has a length bigger than 1, that means there's another image to compare it to. So then we can pass down compared layers 1 here. Okay, and that's pretty much it. That should be all good to go. And finally, to start like seeing this in action, we'll also add a button at the bottom. Okay, so let's go down here, do another button. I wonder if we need to wrap this up in some, nah, let's just put it here. Button. Okay, and this is gonna say, what is this gonna say? Well, it depends what kind of mode we are on, right? So if we're in layer comparison mode, then this should say stop comparing. Otherwise, it should say compare layers, like that. Okay, and then here, like, I also kind of want to do like some sort of image. So I'm just gonna pop this in the span. There we go. Pop that in the span. Okay, and then down here, I'll do if there's no layer comparison mode, then I'll render out these images from Lucid React. So class name, text, secondary, foreground, and we'll do a size of 14. Now in this button as well, what I want to do is add a disabled to it. So I can say if active layer, if there's no active layer URL, then this should be disabled. And if there is an active layer resource type is video, then I shouldn't be able to compare video. So let's disable that. And then on click here, what I'm going to do is hook up the functionality. So we're just going to say if we are in layer comparison mode already, what is this? This is being funny. Okay. If layer comparison mode is on, right, that means we're comparing layers. So what I want to do is set the layer comparison over to whatever the opposite is. So turning it back off, right? So if we click the button again, go out of comparison mode. Else, set the compared layers over to the active layer. I'll pass the ID in like that. Okay, I think that should probably be working. One more thing we need to do is update here because we're just setting active here all the time. So rather than doing that, is what we can do is if we're in layer comparison mode, well then I want to just like toggle the compared layers. Otherwise select it, right? Set active layer to the layer ID. Okay, that should do it. And then one more thing we can do here is add a little bit more animation. So border primary here, rather than doing that, we can do something like layer comparison mode. So if that's on, and get the compared layers, and if it includes the layer ID, and then what we can do is say active layer, the ID triple equals to layer ID. So this is basically gonna add the border to the highlighted compared layers. Okay, is that gonna work? Let's have a look. My button's not showing up. That's the thing though. So there we go. As you can see, we have a compared layers at the bottom there. Let's change up the variant. Should be, outline. Because that's looking quite nasty. Let's hit save. There we go. That's looking much better. Maybe the spacing here is not too nice. Let's also add a gap. See how that has a gap? This one doesn't. So let's do a class name of flex items center a gap of 2. There we go, separate that a bit. We can like expand this layer tab a bit bigger if you want. We can do like 360 there just to give it a bit more space. I think that looks quite okay. Looks like there's like padding here as well. So I'm just trying to figure out, does the card content have, yeah, okay. So the card content looks like it has the padding already added to it. So there's, we could take this. Let me see where this card content is getting rendered in. Okay, so we're just doing this div here by itself, but we could pop this in there. So let's just grab everything here, this whole div, and pop it at the bottom of the card content. But then it doesn't stick there. So that's fine. Let's just put it there. We'll add a padding ourselves. I think that's a px of 2 there. 4, sorry. px of 4. Yeah, that looks like it. And then we can do a py of 8 as well. Just like, we should have just done a p of 4, There we go. That's all we needed to do. Okay, so let's try this out. Compare. So we went in comparison mode. Something changed here, but it looks like it still stopped working. So that's working. And look at that, comparing here at the top. The first image and nothing here. So if we select another one, look at that, it picked up the other one as well. And then we can do a nice comparison. And then we can, if I hit this another time, it goes out and then I can select it again like that. Okay, so it kind of works. There's some funkiness going on here with the shifting. So let's fix that up. So let's head over to our active image because this is where it's happening. Okay, so here's where we're returning that image comparison, right? But again, we don't have any styling set here. So let's add a quick class name. It's pretty much the same style I added here. So I'll just copy paste that. Okay, so let's give this a shot. So here's my background cut out, and then I'll select this one, for example, and boom, look at that. You can see a quick before and after. So there we go. That's our little comparison feature. Next up, let's start implementing the generative background replace. So we already have one where we can remove the background, but it'd be nice to also have one that could just automatically switch it to another one. So let's start implementing this. The only difference here is in the URL, we doegen background replace. So we can pretty much copy over most of the functionality from the background replace. So we'll head, from the background remove. So let's go to bg remove here. And in the toolbar here, we'll make a new tool and call this bg replace instead. There we go, bg replace. We'll go to bg remove, copy everything over, head over to bg replace and paste it in. Okay, so let's have a look what we need to basically change up here. So this is not bg remove anymore. It's background replace like that. Most of this can stay the same. So here we'll just start updating the text. We'll say bg replace. And for the image here, we'll pick a different one, image off from Lucid React. Okay, we'll hit save. I'll just modify the text here as well. You can put any text you want. There we go. Replace the background of your image with AI generated content. There we go, cool. What we do need here though is gonna be a prompt, okay? Because we can like replace it with whatever we want, right? We can say, hey, put a sky in there, okay? Put, I don't know, Steve Jobs in the background. I don't know why you'd have Steve Jobs in the background, but so let's do like a grid with a gap of 2, and in here let's just do another div. Let's just put like a label. Yeah, let's put a label in there. There we go, and we'll call this prompt. And then here, HTML4, we'll say prompt. And then we'll just do an input below. There we go. And then the ID for this is going to be prompt. We'll pass in the value of prompt. We don't have that yet, but we'll make a state. And on change, we'll get the event and set the prompt over to E target value. Okay, so we're just getting that value from the input. Now we don't have the prompt here, so let's just make it quickly. Const prompt set prompt equals to use state. Okay, so we'll just initialize the use state. Empty pair of strings by default, right? So we'll just pass that down. Okay, so anything else we need to do on our input? Not really. We can do a placeholder here that we can pass down. Should be it. That should be fine. Okay, so then here, this can stay the same. That can stay the same. This pretty much stays all the same. The only difference here that we're gonna need is gonna be a different like server action. So let's just change this to generating, and then we'll say replace background here instead. Okay, so yeah, we're pretty much ready to create that action. So let's head down to the bottom. Here we go. We'll name it the same, so bg replace.ts. Here we go. We can go to the bg remove, copy and paste. Let's go here to the top, and we'll need to modify the schema a bit. Bg replace schema. Here we'll have just the prompt, right, and the active image. So let's just change this to prompt. Okay, we can pass the new schema in. And then here we don't have format, instead we have prompt. Okay, cool. So now that's done. Here we can have the active image. We'll split it by the upload again. There we go. We don't need this PG convert anymore. So that can go. This can go as well. Let's just get rid of everything. We'll reformat this again. So we'll say const bg replace URL. That's going to be prompt here. So if we have the prompt, then we'll do $, curly brackets. I'll do parts here. Let's call this parts because we're splitting it. So it's going to be the first part slash upload slashegen background replace. Then we can pass in the prompt. You need to add an underscore and then $, curly brackets like that. We can pass in the prompt. And after the prompt, we can add a slash parts 1. Now what if they don't pass anything down? If they don't pass anything down, then I can just pretty much do parts 0 upload, because we can still do the background replace. We can just do it so we don't pass down any prompt. So we can just add slash parts 1. Okay, cool. So that's it. That's it done. Now we can just return this bg replace here to our front end. So in the success, we'll do bg replace URL, and here we're not calling bg removal anymore. We'll call bg replace instead. I might have not changed the name of this. Bg replace. Okay, bg replace, and there it is. Okay, so we don't have a format anymore, but we have a prompt. And that's coming from our prompt, right? Which is in our state here. Right here. Okay, cool. So let's see anything else that we need to change potentially here when we're creating the layer. So it's going to be a new layer ID. The URL will be set to the new one. That's fine. Format here can stay the same. So we can just call active layer .format. Height can stay, width can stay, the name, bg replaced active layer name, we can change it to that, and everything else here looks fine and dandy. Okay, so we can give this a go. So let's head back to the browser. There we go. Oh, we also need to add it here. Sorry, my apologies. So we can go to the image tools. Remember, that's where we have it, image toolbar. And here we can do bg, what do we call it? bg replace. We might have not changed the name of it. Oh, we just named it background replace. Okay. So let's do background replace. There we go. Cool. Let's hit save and have a look. There we go. We got the background replace as well. So I'll switch and let's add something here. We'll say sunset. And just like that, there we go. Look at that. We replaced that with a copy of the sunset here. So again, we can do compare layers as well if we want to see the difference we made. Check that out. How cool is that? All right, lovely. Next up, let's start implementing a tool that lets us expand this image or crop it in any way we want. So we can take this image and crop it vertically, horizontally, and we can even fill in like extra empty space with like AI. So we could get like more of the city landscape here in the back bokeh'd out. So let's start implementing that. It's going to be a bigger component because we're also going to add a preview to the button here where we can visually see how much the AI is going to add. So we'll take it this nice and slow. So let's head back over to our image tools. And this is going to be called, we'll call it generative fill. Okay, so let's go to toolbar here and do a new file, generative fill.tsx. There we go. Cool. Again, I think we can copy a lot over. So let's just go to bg remove for now. Head over to gen fill, paste that in. Okay, so in the gen fill, make sure we're here. Let's start generative fill. Let's start updating this. So most of this is gonna stay here. Let's head down and see what we're like rendering out as well. So we have our popover. That can stay the same. Here, we're gonna switch this to generative fill. I'll do a crop icon here from Lucid. There we go. Let's hit save. Here we can switch the text as well. Generative fill. Now what I want to do is actually add a little like thing here that shows us the resolution of the image and how much we're going to change it by. So what I'm going to do is let's go here to this div. I'm going to add a class name. We'll just say flex skull, the height of full. And I'm actually going to pop everything in here in the div. So the gen fill and the paragraph here is going to go in the div. I'll just add a space y of 2 for these. Okay, now right below this, we're going to say if active layer width exists and the active layer height exists, then what I want to do is do a question mark here. I want to create a div. And this div is going to have a class name of flex with justify evenly. And here, I just want to render out the resolution and the current size. So we're going to say flex call with item center. And we're going to say span, current size. We'll add a class name to this as well. We'll say text extra small. We don't need this to be too huge. We'll do a p tag. And here we're going to say active layer.width x active layer.height. Cool. Okay, so we're just rendering that out. And We can also add a bit of styling to this. Text small, text primary. We'll make this blue with a font of bold. Okay, cool. So we're missing something here, which is this bit down at the bottom. We need to add null. There we go. So after this, let's see. After this div, let's make a new one here. And we're going to render out the new size. So flex call, item center. We'll go here, say span, new size. Do a class name of text small, XS, sorry, just the same as the other one. And then we'll do a p tag, or we'll say, we don't need a p tag actually. We can just do, and with the p tag, we just need to do pretty much the same here. So let's just paste this in. And what I'll need is like a width and a height that we can add to. So I'll just define them here. Const width, set width. We'll initialize it with 0, because this is like what we add to it or remove. All right, there we go. So I'll just set these to 0 for now. Let's head down here, because the new like width and height that we're doing here is gonna be that, like whatever we have on the layer plus the width that we add or subtract. So even if that's minus, that'll work. And then here we'll do the height, right? So there we go. Now below this, so I just go all the way to the bottom here and make another div. We'll add a slider here that will allow us to modify the height. So let's just do a justify center, item center. And then in here, we'll do a div with a class name of text center. Open this up. We'll pop a label in where we're going to say modify width. And this is going to be a HTML4 the max. So let's just do width for the width. Okay, cool. Now we can go here and add an input as well. And what we're gonna do here, I'll just paste this in, save a bit of time. So we just set the width as the name. The type is gonna be range. The max is gonna be the active layer, the width. And the value here is gonna be the actual width from the state that we passed down, and then we can modify it. Now we need to parse this because your input is like initially going to return everything as a string. So just parse it to an int, and then that's it. So this is pretty much like the same that we need to do for the height as well. So we can just copy this over. Let me just see how we need to do this. Yeah, so after this div here, let's paste that in. We'll say modify height instead. So this is going to be height as well. Type range stays. Here we can change this to height as well. Can add a min as well if you want. What I like to do is do like minus active layer height plus 100, just so you cannot like go to 0 pretty much with the height when you want to like make it smaller. You want to like, that's like the limit we set is 100 pixels, you know, the max you can go down to, but that's pretty much it. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's looking good. And then we have our button here that is not going to do this anymore, right? We have this set to BG removal, but what we need is the handle gen fill. So that's okay. Let's just like try to render this component out. So let's go to the image toolbar. Let me check the name as well. Generative fill. Okay. So let's add it here. Let's hit save and see what we have so far. So there we go, current size. And as you can see, that's like the new size that we have there. It looks like these are changing together, which is not good. That means that something is connected there. See, because we're setting the width twice. So let's set height there instead. That should work. Okay, it's still changing both inputs for some reason. Let's have a look. Oh, height here. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So we can modify the width of this. We can modify the height. And as you can see, the minimum we can go down to is 100 because we added plus 100 there. So you can customize that any way you want. Okay, so here as well, let's see what we need to do. Let's modify this to generative fill. And let's modify this to generating like that. Cool. Now, one more thing I want to do here is that kind of like a preview of how our like image is going to be modified, and also maybe give a bit of spacing between that. See how like, low that is? So let's go back here. Where is that? So add the title. So right here, right? We added the space Y for these two. There we go. Let's push them together. Instead, let's do a padding bottom of 4. There we go. That looks a bit better. Just separate that out a little bit. So what I wanted to have here right below is just like a preview of the image, right? I want to have a preview here that shows how our image is going to get modified. Okay. So let's just go down here to the bottom, maybe like right here. And I'll create another div. And I'll add a class name of preview container to this with a flex of grow. So what I want to do here is just render out the image with the preview of how much our image is actually getting extended. So we can add a style on this. I'll just pop this open here. And the width here, I'll do preview size in pixels like that. Now we don't have this, so we'll just go to the top here and set it. So I'll just do a preview size here. So how big do I want this image to be? So I'll do const here, 250. And I'll also do like an expansion like threshold. So that to 250 as well, that's fine. Okay, so there we go. That's my preview size there. It's gonna be 200. It's pretty much gonna be the same for the height as well. So let's change this to height. There we go. We'll do a display of flex on this. We'll do a justify content of center. To be fair, like we could have just done it like this. Added here flex, justify center, item center, overflow. Let's do a hidden. And margin M-auto. Okay, cool. There we go. So this is just going to be like the container for it. And in here, we'll actually render out the preview style. So let's just do a div here. We'll need another one. We'll add a class name to this of animate pulsate. And the style here is going to be preview overlay style. And then this one is going to be preview style. Oops, not class name, but as style you have to pass it. Preview style, because we're going to define these up here. Okay, so there we go. We have those. So let's go up to the top and define them. So let's create our preview style. So this is going to be just like a use memo. It's going to be a function here. It's going to check if there's no active layer width or there's no active layer height. Then what we do is just return nothing, just an object there, because we're passing this down in styles. So it's going to accept an object there. Let's import the use memo. Okay, there we go. And now here, so we want this use memo to keep running and updating every time the active layer changes, the width changes, and the height changes. Okay, so what happens when these things change? Well, we wanna update it, right? So we can say const new width is gonna be our active layer width plus whatever width we got passed down. And then the height is pretty much going to be the same, right? We just need to modify new height here. So it's going to be active layer height with the height from the state. All right, cool. And then our scale here. So I'm gonna pretty much do like a combination of these. So I'm gonna math min the preview size divided by new width, comma, and then preview size divided by new height. So that's our scaling there. Okay, and then we can just return everything. So return width is gonna be $, curly brackets, and we're gonna say new width times by scale in pixels. Okay, add a comma. We'll do the same with height. And then the background, I can set the background image to the URL like that. And then the background size can be placed. Whoops. This is the cool thing. You can just do the background size now with the active layer width and scale. And then the height as well. And then we can just place the background position to center with no repeat. Okay, so it'll just scale nicely. Okay, so that's one. That's the preview style. Let's see if we just remove this for now, if we can see anything. So now if we have a look in the browser, you're gonna see, look at that, we have the preview image right there. And if I modify the height, as you can see, we get to see some changes going there. So that's for the width. There we go. It's not really working so well because you cannot see what's getting filled and what's not getting filled, but you can see that the height actually works. If I expand this again, it's not gonna show anything there, but once we add the preview overlay style, it's gonna make more sense. So let's say const preview overlay style. It's gonna be a use memo again. Run an arrow function here. Copy this over. This little check here. And then this last here, the dependency array is gonna be the same as well. And I'll paste this in because it's quite a bit to go through. But we're doing the scaling again here. So we'll do a math min, just divide the preview size by the active layer width plus the width. And same for the height. And then what we're gonna do is add the bits on the side. That's gonna show us where it's gonna get filled. So left width, right width, top, and bottom. So it's gonna be width. If it's smaller than 0, then we're gonna divide that width by 2 and multiply it by the scale. Okay, there we go. And then finally here at the end, we're gonna return, let me show you how we're gonna inset this. We're gonna return this in position absolute with top left, right, bottom at 0. And then we're just gonna add a box shadow. So we're gonna inset that left width with the top height, and then you can add any color you want here. Okay, so pick a color, add it, and that's that. So now if we go down here, uncomment this, you should be able to see it kind of shows what's gonna get filled there. So that's the bit. If I do width as well, see, it kind of just previews. I can also do a little indicator to show us how much we're expanding this by. So let's just go here. You can separate these into like different files if you want these little helper functions. I'll do expansion indicator. Let's call it like that. So I just run an arrow function here like that. And this is going to take in the value and the axis. So the types for this is going to be super simple. Value is going to be a number. And then axes is going to be either X or Y. There. Okay. So we'll need to check if it's visible, because essentially, like, if it's, let's say, okay, so that's our image, right? Let's say I modify it by that much, okay? I don't want anything to show up here, but if it's a bit more, like maybe 30, 40 pixels, I want it to pop up here and say, hey, you're modifying this by 40 pixels. So that's what this is visible is. So I'm gonna do math abs here, pass in the value, and if it's smaller or equal than the expansion threshold, again, you can modify this to any value. I put 250 on both. And then we can modify this position by setting it equal to axis. So if this triple equals to X, then I want to return this object here, which is going to be top of 50%, comma. And then if the value is smaller than 0, then this should be put on the right. Otherwise, it should be put on the left like that. Okay, comma. We'll do a transform. and just translate the y of this by minus 50%. Cool. Okay, there we go. Otherwise, here I can add like that. What we're gonna do is do the left instead. Left 50, bottom top 0, translate x 50. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So this expansion indicator also needs to return something. Okay, we just cannot have it chilling like that. So let's go here at the end, say return. We'll do, yeah, we'll say if is visible. Then we'll just pop a div in here. That's gonna have, let's see, the styles of the position that we created up here. I'll add a couple more styles here, like a position absolute, a BG primary, text of white. And then in here, I can just render out that value. So I can say math.abs, pass in the value, and just say pixels here. Okay, that should be it. So we should be able to get this indicator now and pass it down. So let's go, where is our here? Okay, so let's do it here. We'll say expansion. What did I call these? I think I misspelled that. Expansion. Expand for me, expand. Okay, so we'll pass down the value here of width, right? And the axis is gonna be x. And then this is gonna be a height, and the axis is gonna be y. That should be it, that should do it. Check it out. So if I change this, look at that, we're getting the value right down there. How cool is that? Now, maybe it shouldn't be, you know, this one is like there. It should be kind of like there. So let's take these two. Maybe we'll move it in here. Let's see if that fixes it. There we go, that's much better. I don't think the background should be blue though, to be honest. Let's have a look. BG, should we do a secondary? See how that looks? And text of primary. Will that look any better? That's not bad. That's not looking too bad at all. Okay, there you go. So that works. Lovely job. That's just a little preview style that we can add there. That doesn't take too long to make. Okay, lovely job. I might actually just, you know, expand this a little bit, the preview style here. I don't mind having this a tad bit bigger like that. There we go. That looks a bit better. It's harder to like visualize if it's that small. Okay, so there we go. All ready to pop. We just need to do the gen fill thingy, right? Yeah, I think we also made the function for it. We have not. I'm lying. So let's go down here to our server. Make a new file. Gen, what are we calling this? Gen fill.ts. There. Take the replace, maybe the remove, copy that over, paste it in the gen fill. So the schema for this is going to be a bit different. Let's take this and switch it to gen fill schema. Active image is going to stay. Here the aspect, we'll need the aspect for it. So let's set that to z string. And we also need the width and the height, right? So gonna be passed down the strings from the state. We should just do number, you know. Height, oops. Height is gonna be a type number as well. Sorry, z number. And this as well, z number. Cool, there we go. So let's pass down this gen fill schema now. extract everything here. Just like space, comma, and then you can just fill it up really quickly like that. The parsed input. Okay, so we're gonna split this by the upload again. We don't need these two, so let's just clear everything out here. The parts here, yeah, we do need that. So let's call this fill URL now. That's gonna be parts 0. There we go. Upload, and here is where we're gonna need to replace this. Let's take that off. So AR here is gonna refer to the actual aspect ratio that we want this image to be. So we'll just pass down aspect. We'll let this be able to be controlled. And bgen fill. Here we need to pass that down. So if the image is bigger, it's just gonna fill it up with, it's gonna figure out what to fill it in with. Pad as well, we need to pass that down. And then the width here is gonna be W underscore $ curly brackets, pass down the width there, and then H underscore, and then you can pass down the height there as well, like that. And that's it, that's all you need to do. And then you can just simply return this fill URL. And there we go, got our gen fill. So we can head back over to our gen fill component. Let's head down, and here on the button, right where we're triggering everything. So let's go here, change this to gen fill. I might have not named this gen fill. There we go. Okay, so here, that's not gonna be accepted anymore. Instead, we need to pass down the aspect. I found if you just pass down 1, 1 here like that, you can pretty much change it to anything you want and it's gonna work. The height is gonna be, well, what's the height? The height from the state, right? And the active layer height as well. We need both of those. Like that. And then for the width as well, it's gonna be the same. Sorry, I should have been the other way, right? Width plus active layer width. And then this is height. Add the $signs there. Let's change that to height. That should be good. There we go. Active image. What's the problem here? The comma. There we go. Cool. There we go. That's it. That's all we need. This can stay the same. Format here can be, again, active layer, whatever the format was on the previous image. There we go. And then the height and the width here are also going to need to be modified, right? Because we have new heights and new widths. So height is going to be whatever it was plus the new height that we added. And then here it's going to be whatever the new width that we added. Add the $signs here, the exclamation marks. We have the height here, so it's going to be fine. Okay. We can also modify this for the name, gen fill plus layer name. And that's pretty much it. That's all we need to do. That should work. So we can give this a go. We can select this image. Let's try to expand it a little bit. So I don't really want to do the height too much. So maybe cut a little bit off the height, like there, to our knees, and then just expand this quite a bit to the side. And there we go. Check it out. Look at that. We successfully did a gen fill for this image. Before we move on to the video side of things, I want to add one more feature here. There's lots more, so I highly recommend you to just go check out their AI in action section here in the Cloudinary docs, because there's like upscaling effects you can do. There's a bunch. But what I want to do is there's a new feature that they added, which is extracting bits of an image. So we can extract her, but we can also create a mask out of her if we want. We can extract her just as a PNG as well. So you can target specific bits of an image and create masks and extract them as well, which is super, super cool. So let's make that quickly, because it won't take us too long before we move on to the video side. Let's call this extract part.tsx. There we go. And we can pretty much copy everything over here from BG remove, for example, and paste that back here. I think I did background replace. I copied everything over from there. Let's go here to the top and call this extract part, like that. And I'll need a couple of states here. So I'll just paste them in here and I'll show you. So we have this prompt here, but I'll change it. We'll do a prompts and set prompts because we can have multiple here that we want to extract. Multiple and set multiple, and then the mode as well. We can have the mode normal or mask, right? And then we can invert it as well if we want to. So I'll just create a quick function here that adds a prompt, and that's all it does. It just puts whatever was in the prompt and adds a new one. We'll have an update prompt here as well. It just grabs the new prompt and sets the value here on the index. And that's pretty much it. Here we can have an AI. Let's call this extract. We'll add a scissor icon here. There we go. AI extract here again. And then let's say here that extract specific areas or objects from your image using AI. That's perfect. Now we're not going to need everything in here, so I'll just empty this out. And instead, I'm going to go over the prompts and map over them because I want to be able to add more prompts if I want to. So let's do prompts index, run an arrow function there. I'm just going to return a div here, and then I'm going to have the label and the input like I had before. Pass that in. So the label is going to be for that specific prompt, as you can see. And then here, again, the ID is going to be the same. So I just named it like that. And then at the bottom here, you want to have like an add prompt button as well. So after we loop over, let's just say add prompt, and we just call that function that we created up there. Okay, cool. Next up, let's go down here. What I'm going to add is a little checkbox here as well. That's going to have multiple here checked. Okay, if you want to do multiple images. So we do need checkbox here from Shadn. So let's hop in there. There we go. Let's search up checkbox. And install that. I'm also going to actually install the radio group. So let's head here and copy this over. Paste that in. Let's add the checkbox here. There we go. Run this back up. And what I want to do here is just add a little radio group at the bottom. So let's go here, paste that in. So it's going to be just a radio group. Let's import that. Okay, with the value here on mode and on change on mode, so we can set the multiples here. If it's a transparent background or a mask. So let's do radio group item. And there we go. Perfect. So we got the mask and we got the default as well. And last but not least, we'll need one more little checkbox here. So let me show you how that looks. So it's just going to be a checkbox that's going to set the inversion on this. So meaning that you get to keep the background rather than keep the actual image that you typed in. Okay, and that's pretty much it. So we can make our function as well here to extract this. So let's go down to server, make a new file, call this extract part.ts. Let's copy over the bg remove, paste it in there. Now here, this is going to look quite different. Extract schema. Let's take this, pass that down there. We are going to have, let's see, what do we need here? We need the active image that stays. The prompts is going to be an array, right? Because we have multiple. So an array of strings. Then we have multiple here. If that's set to true or false, so that's a Boolean. It's optional as well. Let's call that optional. We'll have the mode. I put an enum here because it can only be, what's it called? Like a default or mask. So let's just put those in there, but this is optional as well. The invert is optional as well. Well, that's a Boolean. And finally, we have the format. That's going to be a string. Cool. There we go. We are ready to party. Okay, so let's go here and just extract everything. There we go. Now we can go down here. Let's see, we are splitting this active image. Cool. I'll do a PG conversion as well. So yeah, pretty much keep everything here. Yep, that looks good. But this will be modified here. So let's get rid of that. Actually, let's just go here to the top. This is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna say extract params because this is gonna change depending on kind of what mode we're in. So I'm gonna do underscore, parentheses, and I'll say prompts here. Like that, and I'll map over it. Map over each prompt. I'm gonna do an encode URI component here and pass in that P, like that. Okay, and at the end here, I'm gonna join it by a dot slash there, like that. Okay, cool. So now down here I can say if we have the multiple, then the extract params, I'm gonna plus equals add to this because you need to add it like this. So with a dot slash there and then multiple true. All right, so we need to essentially attach that to it. If mode triple equals to mask as well, we can have our extract params plus equals with mode mask. And then if we're on invert mode, we can have the extract params plus equals with, invert true. That's all the settings that you can add to it. Okay, so now here, let's get rid of this middle bit, the e background removal. Instead, we're gonna do e extract. And we're gonna pass in the extract params. And that's everything that there is to it. So let's take this BG URL, return it. Lovely job, perfect. Let's get rid of that there. Hit save. Okay, and then it's just the name we need to change. Extract. Let's say extract part. Okay, so let's go here and say extract part from the server. And then what we need to do here is, it's not prompt anymore, it's gonna be prompts. So I'm just gonna prompt stuff, filter, and just loop over this, go on the P and trim it like that. As long as it doesn't equals nothing like that, I'm gonna trim it. Okay, cool. So if a prompt is left empty, get rid of it. And what did I do wrong? That's the question. Okay, and then we can pass down the format as well, which is active layer format. So that goes there again. The multiple here, I'm gonna pass that in. The mode, I'm gonna pass mode as default or mask. What am I missing? Invert. That's the last one I need to pass in. There we go. Okay, so we passed all the data points down there. And then here on the other side where it comes out, right, where we add the layer, the format's gonna be PNG again because it's gonna be like a masked one. Can call this extracted. And I think everything else pretty much stays the same. Here we can change this to extracting. Change this to extract as well. Okay, and then extract part. So that's still named well. We can go to image, tools, and add the extract part in as well. All right, let's have a look at this. So I'll try a different image here. So let's give this a shot with this new image. So for the prompts here, I'm gonna do Mario. And let's do just default and see what we get. And there we go, look at that, it extracted Mario perfectly. And the cool thing is we can even do a mask of him if we want. So you can get a PNG mask that you can save and export and maybe like drop it in your Photoshop or whatever. And it just works. How cool is that? Lovely. Now one more thing I want to do is when we're generating an image, I want actually like a little text bubble to pop up here and say, hey, you're generating this image. It's just a bit better than just having the screen kind of flash here, you know, in like a pulsating fashion. So we'll create that quickly. So let's go here in our components. Okay, I'll just do it here, just in our components. I'll call this loading screen TSX. Okay, so let's go in here. We'll mark this as a use client at the top. We're gonna say export default function loading, like that. And all we really need here in terms for like states is gonna be the generating. So let's import that. Use image store, and actually the active layer as well. So let's get these in. There we go, cool. So here, what we're returning is gonna be super duper simple. It's gonna be just a dialog. Here we go, with a dialog content. So the dialog header, dialog title. We're gonna say editing the active layer name. And then the dialog here is gonna open and close based on if we're generating or uploading something. So generating, and on open change is gonna be set generating, like that. Okay, can limit the size of this a little bit on the content. So on small screens, I'm gonna do a max width of, I don't know, like 420 pixels, flex call, and item center. I'll paste in a little description here saying that this might take a while to process. And finally, what you can do is, let's import this dialog description. I found these cool little animations of Lottie, and I'm gonna link to it. So if you go to my GitHub, you can just copy paste them in. So here's where I'm gonna place them. Let me show you. We'll go to our public, make a new folder in the public, call this animations, okay? And in here, I'm gonna post one called loading JSON. So if you go here and check this out, you can get it. And there's gonna be a couple more actually, so you can just get these and just drop the folder in rather than going on, you know, Lottie and trying to find it. So I'll just install this. It's just the JSON that runs an animation for us. So let's install Lottie as well. So npm I Lottie React, like that. Okay, and to get this running, it's super duper simple. You go to the top and you import Lottie from Lottie, and we'll go down here, and let's say here in the content, we'll add our animation. So Lottie, you can add a width to it, and the animation data. So we can just import that. So the way you do it is import, we can call this anything, so loading animation from, and then you just navigate over to your directory. So /public /animation/loading JSON. And there we go. So that should be working. So if we head back to our editor, we can render that out here. It's on our loading screen. And there we go. Now when we upload an image, you're gonna see that we have this flashing screen here. So let me show you. Upload new image. Let's go down here. Look at that, editing, uploading, whatever it said there. The text wasn't right, but at least we get that nice pop-up now. So we can change that a little bit if we want to. Let's get rid of editing here and just keep the name like that. And there we go. So now when we apply an effect to this, so let's say we are gonna do gen fill on this and just make it like really tall like that. Okay, so let's click that and look at that. The file is getting modified. So we're getting that nice screen. We can still close out of it. That's fine. It's gonna run in the background. Then when it's finished, it's finished. You can even have like a little message there saying that. Then when it, see, there you go. It just pops through and boom, there we go. All right, lovely. So we got the loading screen popping as well. Now, just how we added the animation there, it'd be nice to also have the animation here on the upload image. So I'm gonna drag those in. Again, it's gonna be in the animation one. So it's gonna be called, where is it? Here, image upload. So I'm gonna have one for that. And I'm also gonna have one for the video upload. Okay. So if we head into our image upload, upload image. There we go. We can add that Lottie here as well. So let's go here inside this div, right above the drag active, and I'm going to say Lottie here. We'll import it. I'm going to add a class name of width of 48, or let's do a height of 48. And then the animation data is going to be, let's import that. Let's call this image animation from /public /animation /image upload. Okay, let's copy that, paste that in, and hit save. And let's have a look, and there we go. Look at that, you get a nice little animation popping in here. So we're gonna do the same for the video. So how can we customize this to make it into a video? Well, let's just head over to the upload form, and based on this here, we can select whether we are on upload image or not. So as you can see here, we have the selected type already, that's on image, so that's fine. So right here, let's go in here. We'll do a radio group like that. Let's expand this out. We can add the default value here. It's going to be image. On value change, can run an event here and set the selected type over to the event. Okay, so now let's add a card in here. Might need to import this. Looks like it is. So when we click on this card, we'll have an event, and we're going to set the selected type over to an image. Okay, and then I'll copy some class names over as well. So here's the class name, flex call, with cursor of pointer. And now the selected type is image, we just add the border primary to it. That's it. That's all we need to do. Now our card content is going to look like this. So let's open up the card. I'll paste this in just to save a bit of time. So we have a card content here, and then we have a radio group item. Right, so when we click on this, it's going to have the value of image, and it's going to be hidden. And then we have a label here. There we go. Okay, so when we click on this, boom, it's going to select the image, and then we'll have another card where we click on it, it's going to switch to video. And then we'll also have an image icon in here. So after the card content, this is from Lucid React, so it's an image icon. There we go. It's going to have the same text primary to it. Okay, so we can pretty much copy over this whole card, paste it down there, and then the second one here is just gonna have the selected type over to video. There we go. Yeah, let's just copy this and replace everywhere you see image with video. There we go, that should be good. And then this is going to be a video icon now. And that should be good to go. So let's see, there we go, look at that. And it'd be nice to put them like display flex against each other. So let's go on the radio group. Let it flex, item center, justify center with a gap of 8 and a PY of 8. There we go, look at that. So we can go between these two modes. But since we don't have this upload image form, it's just gonna disappear, see? So what we can do here is go here, and if the selected type is video, then we'll do an upload video instead, which we don't have, but we'll make upload video TSX. Okay, let's copy over everything from upload image to upload video. Go to the top, change the name, upload video, and then we can import it here. Upload video. There we go. And then in here, the animation data here is going to be different. So video animation. We'll do video upload there. Lovely job. Let's hit save. So we can have a quick look there. There we go, that works nice, but we need to change the text there. So for the video, what do we need for the video? This can all go now. Instead, let's just do a video. We'll accept an MP4 for now. Feel free to add more here if you want. The docs all cover this. I'll just do MP4 like that. Okay, cool. On drop here, that stays. This is gonna be a video type now for the accepted file. We cannot create an object URL, unfortunately, out of this because it's a video. So let's get rid of that. Generating to true is still fine. And then we'll create our upload video functionality here as well. So let's just skip through that for now and change like text that we need to change. That can stay the same. Here, this can just be switched to MP4. Drop your video here. Start by uploading a video. Okay, cool. So that should be good to go now. We should just be able to make the upload video function. Upload video.ts. Okay, we can copy everything over from upload image to upload video. Let's head to the top and see what we need to change. So here, this is gonna be a video now. So we can extract the video. Here we're getting the video as well. So let's call this form video. Video.get video. Everything can stay the same here. So we can just have those checks there, just change them to video, and then form video as a file. The array buffer and everything can stay the same. So here, the only thing that we need to do is change the resource type, make sure this is set on video. And that's pretty much it, right? That's all we need to do. And there we go, everything else can stay the same, which is fantastic. So let's go back here and modify our function. So here, rather than saying update, where is it? Where are we actually? Okay, well, we need to change a couple of things because this is not right here either. So let's get rid of this update layer here because we're not setting the image. And then here, everything stays the same. We can change this to upload video. I'm gonna take a video in there. Oops, that might not be the function. What did we call this? Upload. Oh, looks like we didn't change the name of it. Upload video instead. There we go. So we got the video in, and then here, this can stay the same. I think pretty much everything can stay the same. The only difference is I'm gonna add a poster here now. And remember how I told you, like from a video, we cannot really have a preview image, but there's a trick that we can do to get that. We can just get the video URL. This is the actual URL of the video that we're uploading. So resdata.success.url, okay? And to get the thumbnail, you can do something like this: video URL replace. And then I'll add a little bit of regex here, but what we're doing is just taking that and converting whatever extension that it had to a JPEG. Okay, so it takes the MP4 down basically and puts a JPEG in there. So we can pass the thumbnail down like that, and we are all done. That's gonna render out just fine. Looks like everything else can pretty much stay the same. Let's give that a go. We'll do a video. There we go. It's uploading. And look at that. We have the video uploaded, but not only that, check this out. We have a little thumbnail there showing for us, which is fantastic. Now the cool part is see now when we switch between video and picture, see we have custom tools specific for depending on like what type of file that we're working on. And as you can see, we cannot go and compare layers either. And when we go on the image and do compare, as you can see, the video just disappears and only our images are being kept. So let's create a toolbar here for the video tools as well. So let's head back here. In our toolbar, call this video toolbar.tsx. Okay, then add a use client, export default function, video tools. There we go. And I want to just get the active layer here. Get the layer store in, get that state, get the active layer popping. Cool. So if active layer resource type is video, then I want to render out these. Let's do a return. I'll do some fragments. I don't want to render out that many divs. And then here, let's do the video transcription first, which is such a cool feature where you can just add transcription to any video that you upload. So there we go. Let's add that and let's create that component. So toolbar, new, and we're gonna say video. We'll just call this transcription. Okay, let's type this out quickly. So what we're gonna say is use client at the top, export default function, video, let's just do transcription. There we go. For these states, I'm gonna need a couple here. I'll paste them in. So active layer, updating the layer, and then I just set a transcribing here from use state. Let's get the used layer store in as well. And then the generating, right? Every time we want to do something and modify, we'll turn that on. Okay, now let's do a handle transcribe here. So we're gonna say async. We can check if there's no active layer public ID or there's no active layer resource type, but it just like it's not a video, right? We want to make sure this is not a video. If it is, then we can just return, and then you can even do like a toast here if you want. Okay, cool. So that's that. Otherwise, we'll set the transcribing over to true and set the generating over to true. And then we're gonna try to do it. So we're gonna get the result, initiate transcription. We're gonna create this in just a second. But this is gonna take in just one, which is gonna be our public ID. So active layer dot public ID. There we go. Now, if we have a result, if result.data and success in result data, this is how we're going to do it. And then I'll say if result data subtitled, we should get the type here because it's hard to tell what's going on if you don't have the type. So let's create this little initiate transcription here for us, shall we? So let's go in our transcribe and finish that up. So transcribe.ts, I'll have a use server here. I'll copy over a bunch of the imports from the other files. There we go. Get the action client in as well. Why is that not getting recognized? I think I placed it in the lib. That's not the one. What did I call it? Safe action. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna do the Cloudinary config that we had in the previous one. The schema for this one's gonna look like this. It's just gonna have the public ID coming through, right? Let's close that one up as well, so it doesn't error out. Okay, so the public ID we're getting in there. And then what we need to do is say async function. And then let's do export const initiate transcription. It's going to be an action client. Just gonna have a schema here of the transcription data like that. I'll add the action here as well. That's gonna be an async function. And then here we're gonna have our parsed inputs. There we go, and we should be able to extract the public ID right there. Okay, so let's give this a shot. We can do a try catch here. And then the try, what we'll do is say await Cloudinary API. You can use their API to update the public ID that we're passing down here. And what I want to do is say that the resource type is going to be video. And the raw convert here is going to be Google Speech. So we need to activate this plugin for it to work. But once we have that, we can do the kind of like the pooling that we did previously as well, which is gonna be to like a max attempts like that and with a status. So I'll do 1,000 and then we'll do our loop. So just copy this over because it's gonna look pretty much the same. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna loop over this. We're gonna check the status as well, right? And if the status is on complete, then we want to generate the subtitled video URL. Now there's two functions here that we need to build for this to work. So we'll do it just now. But let's go here to the catch first. Finish this up, add the error there. And then in here we'll say return an error that says error in transcription process. Okay, so let's make these two functions. So one's gonna be to check the transcription status, right? So let's go here to the top. We're gonna say async function check transcription status. Gonna take in a public ID, which is a string, and it's gonna return us, well, a promise. That's gonna be a type of string. That's why I want to return. So here we'll do a try, the catch error. And what I want to do here is do a result. So I'm going to hit that Cloudinary API. I'll go to the resource. I'll look for the public ID that's getting passed down with the resource type of video. All right, so I'm looking for this. And then if the result info and the result info raw convert and the result info raw convert dot Google Speech is available, that means that we can return the actual transcription. Okay, so what we'll say here is return the result info raw convert Google Speech status, like that. Okay, I know, crazy, but it works. And after this, if it doesn't, then we can just return pending. All right, it's still loading. And that's pretty much it for this check transcription status. What's going on here? Okay, it's because we're not returning everything properly here. Let's just throw a new error here. Failed to check transcription status. There we go. Lovely. So that's our check transcription status. And then to actually generate this, we'll need to make a new function, generate subtitled video URL. We'll need a specific URL for this as well. So this is going to just return a string for us. So what we'll say is Cloudinary URL. We'll pass in the public ID. So return me a URL with a resource type of video. And then for the transformation here, we can add an overlay. The resource type here is going to be subtitles. The public ID for this It's gonna be public ID dot transcript, like that. Okay, it's all in the docs. It's quite simple to just copy paste this, to be fair. Okay, and then for the flags here, we can apply layer apply, like that. Okay, cool. So that's all you need to do. And now we can head back to our transcription component here, initiate transcription. Let's import that. So now this should be all typed. Lovely. Okay. So here, if the result.data is going to have a subtitled video URL, then I just want to update the layer here, right? I want to say, hey, just keep everything that you had in the active layer and just make sure that you change the transcription URL over to result data.subtitled video URL, like that. Okay, so that's all we need to set there. After we set that, we can set the active layer over to that new one as well, active layer ID. Okay, and then down here, we can also do an else if. How do you do else ifs? I forgot. Else if, like that. You can say result.data and error in result data. Then what I want to do is, let's just do console log out result data error. Okay, and then here we can catch it as well. We can say else. We can just say else here, to be fair. There we go, cool. And then here on our try catch, see the catch ends here. So let's catch the error. Just console log it out. What I can do is set the transcribing to false and set the generating to false. All right, there we go. So that's pretty much all the logic hooked up here. Okay, so we can start adding our HTML just down here. So let's see, where are we looping over that? So we need to go here at the purple line, say return. I'll do a div, so a class name of flex with the items to center. And here I'll say if the active layer does not have a transcription URL, then render out this button here. And this button is going to have the on click for handle the transcription. Let's import the button as well. There we go. Okay, so it's going to have a PY of 8 full with handle describe on. And then if it's transcribing as well, I want to make sure it's disabled. So I'm going to make sure that's running as well. Okay, and then here in the button, if we open up the button, I'll just pop in a span in there like that. And if it's transcribing, then I'm going to change the text as well. Okay, so that's pretty much all the button that we have. And then if the transcription URL is available, then what we'll do is render out another button for that. So I'll just paste that in here because it's quite simple. So a button that heads the href over to the transcription URL. So I'll just take you there to view the transcription. And that's that. So we can go over to our video toolbar, import this video. What did we name it? I think we just named the transcription. So I just filmed a little video now with me talking on it, just so we can extract the transcription URL. So there we go. It's uploaded there. As you can see, I'm chatting. Let's head back to the video tools. Let's see why this is not. Something's wrong here. It's not getting rendered out. Editor, did we not import here? There we go. We need to add the video tools here. Video tools. There we go. Change this to video, hit save, and there we go. We got the transcribe feature. So if we click on this, there we go. It's transcribing. So we need to just wait for a second. Now, if this fails for you for some reason, you need to activate a plugin here inside Cloudinary, because some of the features do use plugins. So to get there, So if you go to your Cloudinary console, as you can see, I activated a couple of them. So one I'll be using is going to be the AI background removal. We need to just click it and activate that as well. The Imaga auto tagging, I'm going to use this as well just to show you some cool stuff that we can do with it. But also Google AI video transcription. So just click it here, enable it, and that's that. They have like different pricing plans for each and how much you can use it. So as you can see, for the content analysis, you get 5,000 for $10. Okay, so check these out, have a look around, see what you can pick up and use. But once you turn this on, so you just click it, it turns on, and that's it. It just works after that. So I just filmed a little video of me speaking so we can test this AI out. So let me just upload it. Let me go here. Let's see this one right here. Okay, so let's get uploaded. Okay, so there we go. So let's go to transcribe, click, and check this out. After a couple of seconds, if I play this, look at that, it automatically replaces my video with the transcription on it. How cool is that? And then we can have the view transcription button here to view it. And there we go. So there we go, that's one of the features. One more really cool thing that we can do is crop videos as well. So let's create that. Let's go here to our toolbar and create a new one. Let's call this Smart. So let's go here, make a new file called the smart crop.tsx. Okay, so I use client at the top. Set to the top here. I'm gonna say export default function smart crop. Okay, let's expand this open. We'll need a couple of things in here. So one's gonna be the set generating and the layer store. So let's import these, use image store, use layer store. I'll need the ability to add a layer as well. What else do I need? I'll need some state for height and width because we're gonna modify these for the video. I'm gonna need the generating and set generating as well. And one more thing I'm gonna do is add an aspect ratio that we can modify to. Okay, so we'll do like 3, we'll do a square, so 1 by 1, we'll do a widescreen 16 by 9 and like a TikTok version as well, which is 9 by 16. So let's do use state here, import that, perfect. Okay, so let's see what else we need. Let's go here and return. And this is gonna look very similar to the other one, so I'm just gonna copy paste this. So let's go here, add a popover, open that up. We're gonna have our popover trigger. Let's open that up as well. I'll paste a disabled on this if there's no active layer URL. And then I'll just paste in the button in here, okay? A button that's gonna have a crop here as the icon. There we go. So that's our trigger. And then our content, I'll just copy this over because it's quite a big one. And we'll just walk through everything. So here we go. We have our popover content. There we go. So this is just gonna have a div, right, with the text there, smart recrop. And then I did a couple of cards here. So card with a CN. So here's what we're doing, right? I'm just like, whenever you click on the card, it sets the aspect ratio over to 16 by 9. Like that's all. So each of these cards will set the aspect ratio over. Card header. Let's update these. Card title. Card description. Let's do the content as well. I wish this would just auto-complete there. That's annoying. For the actual icon here, I did go and found some like SVGs. So what I'll do, just to make this super easy for you, I'll make a folder here because I already made this with icons. And this is rendered in like TSX and React for the sake of being able to switch the background color of these depending if we're in dark mode or light mode, because it's going to make a little bit of a difference. So let's do YouTube TSX here. Again, I highly recommend just getting this off the GitHub and copy pasting it over. But as you can see, we're just rendering out in the context of React. So let's pop the YouTube in here. YouTube is fine, but TikTok is gonna have like a little bit of issues with dark mode and light mode. So that's why I did it like this. So I'm gonna show you how the TikTok one is gonna look. So as you can see, we import the use theme in here. And then based on that, I'm doing the fill here. Okay, so you're gonna see that in just a sec. So let's do TikTok there as well. And then for the last one here, I just used from Lucid React, a square image. Square, there we go, cool. And then we'll have our handle gen crop here, which we need to make. Okay, we don't have that. Let's paste that in there. Let's just see how this looks for now. Head back here. We'll need to render out this as well. So smart crop, if we go to video toolbar, paste that in there, we should have it now. We won't have it because that's gonna error out. So let's just comment this out for a second. I just want to see the actual UI. Smart crop, there we go, click, and it just crashes. Okay. Expected a string, blah, blah, blah. You forgot to export your component. Why are you complaining about? What did I forget? It says it's exported. Let's head down here to the bottom, see why this doesn't work yet. I'll add back this on click for now, but I'll run it here directly. So let's do an event, open that up. I'll mark this as an async function as well. There we go. What we'll do here is say const handle generative crop. I don't even need that. We can just say set generating to true. And I'll do a res. I'll do a gen crop here, which we don't have. But we'll need to pass down a couple of things here. Okay, so let's go to our server again. New file, gen crop ts. Okay, at the top, we're gonna get the use server again. We're gonna import our safe actions here as well. It's coming from lib. Our Cloudinary config as well. Now, how is our gen fill schema gonna look like? We'll need to take in the aspect, the height, and the video for that. And then we can do export const gen crop. Set that equal to the action client. We can pass in the schema. So let's use gen fill schema. And finally, the action. All right, let's bring this down to a new line just so it's a bit easier to see. Pass in async there. The parsed input. This is active video should be. Whoa, 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 whoa. What's going on here? Let's run an arrow function, because then the types just show up magically. I was wrong. There we go. Cool. There we go. We got it. So let's get the parts out. Active video. We'll split it by the upload. There we go. And the fill URL is going to be pretty much our parts, pretty much what we did with the other one. So let me show it to you. So again, the aspect ratio aspect with a C of fill. Gravity here, we'll leave it auto. It's gonna try to focus on the subject, and then the height as well is added in there. And that's pretty much it. And then we can return everything else. So I'll add this little process here that we had in the other functions as well. So is process, max attempt, check image processing. We'll import that little helper tool here, and that's it. That's it done. So we can head back here to the gen crop and import that. And then here we need to pass in the height, which is going to be our active layer height. And let's see what's it complaining here. Oh, it's because it's converted to a type of string. So let's do toString here, like that. The aspect is going to be aspect ratio from our state, and the active video is of course going to be our active layer URL, like that. Okay, so if everything goes through smoothly, if the res data has a success on it, then we set the generating back to false, and then we'll do a new layer ID to save this. So we'll do a crypto random UUID. We'll get the thumbnail URL as well, like we did in the previous one. So I'll just paste that over by getting the JPEG, and then we'll add the layer. So to add the layer, again, we pass in the new layer ID, cropped, resource type, make sure it's video, and pass down the poster as the thumbnail URL as well. Okay, cool. Last thing, but not least, set the active layer over to the new layer that we made. Well, I think that's pretty much it. We can get the error here as well and set the generating back to false. Okay, so I just uploaded this video. It's got quite a bit of movement to it. I just want to see how it crops this vertically. So let's try TikTok and hit smart crop. So there we go. After a couple of seconds, you're going to see that, look at that. We successfully cropped this into a vertical style. And look at that, with the gravity auto, it's going to try to focus on the subject there, which is super, super cool. So you can try a square format as well, YouTube format as well. It's going to work pretty much the same. So there we go. That's another cool feature that we added. One last step I want to do to finish up this application. Again, feel free to go and add more to this and refine it, because once you have this, you can just keep adding stuff to it and it becomes kind of like a real app, doesn't it? So an export feature would be cool, where we can just, like, whatever we modify, we'll have an export button here. And with the export, we can also select like the size and quality of it, which would be really cool. So let's do that. Let's get the export feature going. So let's create, let's go, we'll do in the toolbar, we're going to say export.tsx. There we go. Go to the top, we're going to say use client. Let's import, let's see what we need to import. We'll import the button, the layer store, and the dialog as well. Let's get the card in there as well. We'll do use state as well, and the class merger. Okay, so that's everything we need. We can do export default function, export asset. I'll have a resource here. It's going to be a type of string, so we can pass that down, whatever we want to download. Let's get the active layer in here. And let's get the quality as well, like what kind of quality we select. So let's put original by default. And then down here, return, do a dialog. And then the dialog trigger here is going to be just a button. It's going to have an export on it. Get the download from Lucid React. And then we can do the dialog content. Let's open that up. So the dialog content is going to have a H3 here that's going to say export. I'll add some styling to it as well, just make the text a bit bigger. And then we'll have a card here. There we go. That's going to have a little bit of a class name just to add like that border over it if it's on the selected. So if the selected is original, then highlight this card. And if we click on this card, we also set the quality to original, like that. Okay, cool. And then we'll just have in this card here, I'll just paste it in because it's not much. We just have a card content here with the original as the title and the size, which is going to be active layer width and active layer height. And that's pretty much it. And then you can pretty much just copy these cards over and over again. So I'll go here after the first card. Let's go down here, add a new card. This is going to be large. And the only difference is that the quality here is going to go down to 0.7. That's it. And then we add a 2 fix to get rid of any other numbers there. So that's another one. Then we can do the same for medium. As you can see, pretty much the same. We just changed it to medium, the quality down. And then we'll do one more small with the quality down. Okay, there we go. And then we'll have a button here at the end that's gonna say download selected resource. Okay, and then we'll have a handle download here, which we're gonna add in just a sec. Okay, so now this, where does this go? In the video tools or in the, yeah, where are we putting this? So this actually can handle both downloading videos and images. So we can simply head over here and say export, like that. Export asset, that's what we called it. Okay, and it also takes in a resource. So the resource here is just going to be the active layer resource type. That's all. Let's see why it's giving us that. Okay, we'll need to pass in exclamation mark there. Cool. So let's create this handle download as well. We'll go here. It's going to be an async function. And we'll check if there's an active layer public ID, then we can proceed and download this. So we can say try. We're just going to make a fetch request. And I'm going to make it over to our routes. Okay, I'm going to go to /API/download, because what I can do here is add a public ID like that. Set that equal to active layer.public ID. And then I can also add the quality here, which is cool. Quality. That's going to be our selected. And the resource type is going to be active layer the resource type. We can also add the format. So let's say and format active layer the format, and finally let's also do the URL, which is going to be active layer the URL. Okay, so we're passing all of this down to the download, and here we're saying if there's no res OK, because this is going to take a while because we're modifying the quality there. So it might take a second or two for it to give us the final result. So we'll just throw a new error here. Failed to export. Otherwise, we get the data as await res.json. If there's an error on the data, let's also throw a new error. Data error. And if not, then we can fetch the image and then create the download link automatically for them. So image response, we can do await fetch. We can get the data URL there. And we can check if there's no image response OK. Throw new error. We can say failed to fetch. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Why is that not working? If fetch that. Okay, let's get rid of that. We don't need curly brackets around that. There we go. Then we can get the image blob. And then we can create the download URL here. So URL, create object URL, pop that image blob in there, and then you can create a link here like this document create element. We'll create an a tag, and then link the href is going to be set equal to that. And then we can just call download on that like that, which is super cool. Data.file name. We'll return all of this. And then we'll do a link click, because we can do that as well. And then we'll remove it. So remove child, remove that link, and then we'll revoke that URL as well. So we'll do URL.revoke object URL, the download URL like that. Cool. So we did a try here, so it's going to expect a catch. There we go. And then you can just do console log download failed. Okay, so this is all set up now. So we can just need to call to this endpoint here, this API endpoint. So let's go here in our app, make a new folder called API, new folder called download, and in here we'll make a route.ts. Okay, so let's import some stuff here. We'll import from lib. Why is that not working? Check processing. That's what I want. There we go. Let's pop that in. So here what we're going to do is do an export async function get. We'll have our request here from next request. And then we'll pull everything out that we did before. So there we go. These params that are getting passed down, you can get it from request next URL search params. Okay. And then here you can do a check, say if there's no public ID, then we can just return. We can do the selected quality as well. So the way we need to format it is the following. And I've also noticed that it doesn't work with PNG. The quality is like not really distinguishable. So I can say if the format, so I can say here, if the format triple equals to PNG, then have the selected, we'll just reset the selected like that, where we don't even actually need to do anything, but whatever. If the format does not equal to PNG, then it means it's a JPEG, WebP, or whichever else it could be. Okay, here, then we can do a switch the quality over. Oh, sorry, if it does not equal like that. What was that about? So here are our cases. Let me just paste them in here for you. So if it's original, we'll break. If it's on large, Q80, that's how we do it. Q40, Q30. Okay, so now we can actually try this out. Try, catch. So here we'll need to get the parts. There we go. And then the selected parts are gonna look like this. So parts, upload, and then the selected quality and the last parts to that. Okay, as simple as that. And then we'll do our pooling again like we did before. So for that, let's just return this here. So it's gonna be max delay. All right, we're looping over it again. We're doing the check image processing on that URL. And that's pretty much it, right? And if everything goes well, we'll go down here at the bottom and just return the URL with the file name and the quality, because we need that to actually download that image. Otherwise, here we can just simply in the error return an error message with JSON. Okay, so let's give this a shot, see if it works. So we're on this image, we can hit export, look at that. Original, let's try that. Click and look at that, we got the original quality. Let's try small. And really cool, look at that, it's a small one. See, 75 kilobytes versus 250. I'm sure if we like open these up, you can actually see the quality difference. Oh yeah, it's really noticeable here on the screen. I'm not sure if it comes through there, but it does work. How lovely is that? So we can even go get a PNG, which is super cool, export that, hit download, and boom, look at that, you have a nice PNG downloaded. Let's make sure it works on video as well. So let's click on this and do a original export on the video. And would you look at that, we saved it. Cool job. So that's kind of a little fun project that we have been making here with AI. Check out Cloudinary with all their AI features. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I know it's been quite a while since I made a big one like this, but thank you for all your support. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.